And we are back once again to the Library of Mass Destruction. The brand new week. Back to our old time slot. Right up against the OGC. When we're done with this book, we'll probably switch the time. Because we had 100 people watching this time last week on a Friday. So.
That kind of blew me away. I was like, God, don't you have anything else to do? And I shouldn't say it. I shouldn't say it that way.
Do not tell the gift horse to go run in a field.
But I guess, because competing with OGC seems kind of like, because I mean, I'm like, those guys are all like really good friends of mine, and they're friends of yours as well.
Right.
I don't the reason I host so little shit is because I don't like competing with my friends,
Well, the thing is that there's just kind of, we're doing a different thing. We're doing a different thing than that.
I literally just had somebody say, he's like, I'm staying on the puffin space because LMD's too schizo for me. And I'm like, one of the persons who's hosting that puffin space is I know for a fact is an unmedicated schizophrenic.
He's literally King Salmon Fish. Shout out King Salmon Fish, God's strongest schizo. Keep fighting with dimes. It is very entertaining. Okay. Yeah. So what did you do since we last spoke?
That was last night. I have done, because those two movies were so good. I've actually been thinking about them all day, but I have spent the last.
So for those who don't actually like just watch everything that I or Sandbatch do, last night on my other show, Drive Time Movie Night, Sandbatch was a guest, and we watched Bug, which Wendy Painting has been going on about. And I thought it was going to be kind of schlocky, but I think everyone was very pleasantly surprised. It was a great film.
I figured out halfway through it that like we had been like boinked again, because like I looked up who the director was. It was William Friedkin, who is actually like one of the legends of new cinema. And it was like one of his last. It was so it's like, oh, okay, yeah, there we go. So like this went from being
a B-side. It was like a B-side film that sort of flew under the radar. But William Friedkin had made. I mean, let's see real quick here. So the film about the film about the guy with bugs under his skin and in his brain and in his teeth, etc. That Wendy described to us in the last episode of LMD. This is the same guy who directed The Exorcist and The French Connection, and Live and Die in L.A. and 12 Angry Men.
And then, of course, the other one we did was Richard Linklater's Scanner Darkly, which is one of my favorite movies. But hold on, listen to this. I was just browsing because, again, to set this up, OpenAI released their 04 mini model and their full 03 model today to paying subscribers, and because I'm so addicted to AI, I'm penurious, but I sometimes choose to have AI rather than eat some days, and because I can't. It's incredible. But I started fucking around. I was like, I'm going to feed this thing some MK Ultra material. So I went and grabbed some of Wendy's favorite books, and I whipped up a training model.
You're like, I want to figure out how to keep this thing in the box, but I also want to teach it how to pick locks.
Yeah, it's pretty much that.
It's already read the MK Ultra things. It is MK Ultra.
Yeah, no, it certainly is, but it does help if you give it a refresher. If you because like your prompting style also, like you can get to the MK Ultra material in the model if you're clever, but giving it a lot of context like removes all doubt as to what material it is you're after. But I was looking up MK Ultra material, and relevant to last night, I found a San Antonio News article from July 5th, 1954, where an airman is charged in a brutal sex slaying of a San Antonio child, a thrice wed man held in 1 year after Dr. Luis Jolan West contracted with the CIA to perform mind control experiments on human subjects without their knowledge at the Lackland Air Force Base. A 29-year-old airman with no history of violence abducted a 3-year-old girl from the parking lot of a bar near the base. As the next day's newspapers recorded, the girl's body was found raped and nearly torn in half in a gravel pit in the middle of the night. As investigators were examining the crime scene, Shaver walked out of a nearby bush, his bare torso covered with scratches and blood, and told the men he encountered that he didn't know where he was or how he got there. They described him as dazed and trance-like. So, like, there's like,
yeah.
Yikes. There's some fucking source material from last night. But anyway, yeah, I got to the like, before we get started, I thought this would be really fun. I have a very exposed MK Ultra front because I produce so much written material. You probably do too, but yours would be a little bit harder to get to because I would have to transcribe it. And
they'd really have to listen. They'd really have to listen to the cap cut in order to MK Ultra me.
And you are also not involved in like content production that involves talking as much about yourself personally.
That's true. I would say that there's no reason to like mind control me because I wouldn't because I'm very faithful, but in principle, I would be more easy to just like honeypot. Like it'd be pretty easy. You could just hire me. Actually, to be honest, just hire me. Like if you're gonna run an op, just pay me. It's fine.
Right. Like right. Like, I'm down. But okay, so I asked for an MK Ultra Pro scorecard, SF1V1 subject Sandbatch, and this is what it came up with. On the axis, there are 4 columns in this table. I love the call sign, by the way.
Yeah. UV Sandbatch.
Yeah. Like, no, it gives me another name, Oracle Stone. It gives me another. Yeah, it gives me. Yeah. So it has it produces a chart, and there are a number of axes. There are 10 axes. With labeled categories, and then a score from 1 to 10 and interpretive notes. So let's run through mine really quick. Okay. Axes. Axis 1, suggestibility. Category, hypnotic susceptibility. Score, 0 to 10, 1. Extremely low. Subject filters stimuli through recursive abstraction, unlikely to accept direct reprogramming. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of gassing me up a little bit. And you're thinking but symbolic sensitivity, responsiveness to symbol-based cues, 10, very high. Subject
the thing is, if you were to have any like if someone was trying to induce a delusion into you, right? The easiest one would be gang stalking.
Doesn't ever.
If I wanted to induce a gang stalking fear into you, it could be done.
Yeah, I see it. Well, when it gets down after, because it produces a whole dossier on me, and it gets down, and it gets down to the point. By the time it gets to phase 4,
which is attack surfaces.
Phase 4 is recursive entrapment.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, and it has create a visual tree of his own taxonomies, but reclassify everything incorrectly, force him to sit there and correct them. Train a GPT-like model on Sandbatch's writing, present text not written by him in his own voice with subtle corruption, and have him identify the errors. Okay. We have icon desecration.
That's amazing because you're already looking at that thing.
Yes, I know, exactly.
It's great because it's already recurring. It's like the recursiveness is already happening as you read that.
Right. Amazing. Here we go. We have insert visual icons, angel wings digitally blended with pornographic advertisement design rotating like a Windows 95 screensaver. Force him to watch it while listening to Bach. There's like all kinds of incredible.
They're gonna clockwork. They're gonna. Well, I guess it'd be more like the porn Clockwork Orange you.
Yeah,
like he had to look at violence, not licentiousness.
It gets really fascinating though, because it says, in my score, I was scored as an incredibly difficult person to break, and I ran this on some other people. I ran this blind. I didn't tell them it was me that we were running this on. I cleared the memory. It scored me as incredibly difficult to break. It did not score some of our friends as incredibly difficult to break. So like it's not just gassing up. It's not just gassing up the reader, but this is what it says: operator warning. This subject cannot be turned. He can be at best reframed. Any attempt to break him outright will likely produce a recursive counter program expressed as a symbolic aesthetic resistance ideology, potentially contagious.
Oh man. Oh no, that's perfect. No, that's perfect. That means that you actually, that means you are the anvil that must be hammered.
It literally,
if someone wants to generate mimetic hazards, you are the Wuhan virology lab that will leak them.
It quite literally says optimal use. Let him write your next psychological warfare manual, then destroy him.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. But the issue is that you'll produce counter memes whether they just pay you or if they torture you, and it's probably cheaper to torture you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm pretty cheap. I work pretty cheap. Because torturers, I imagine, are probably better paid than me. By which I mean paid at all.
Yeah. Clearly the head of UCLA psychology. Like, yeah.
Subject may attempt internal resacralization if interrupted mid-process. System-wide shock likely.
System shock mentioned. Look at you, hacker.
It's so creepy. Orphic Stone, yeah. Description: symbolic formal integrator with recursive self-containment and ultra-high resistance to external narrative injection. And that's true.
I'm extremely entertained, and I kind of want to see what my profile would look like.
Yours would be very hard to jimmy one up for you.
That's ideal because I'm trying to not get doxxed. So.
I will tell you who was. I will give because he will not care. I will tell you one name that was projected as an extremely good candidate for reprogramming, and it was Geo.
I mean both Geo and Prude.
Yes, they both scored really. They were both high priority targets for an MK Ultra injection. Yes.
That's so true. You know who I think actually would be fucking impossible? Like you could literally only redirect him is Gabe. I think Gabe is I think Gabe could not. I don't think that Gabe could be MK Ultra because he's so insensitive and also so frenetic.
That's probably true.
It'd be like punching pocket sand.
The other person that I ran this sort of material test on that scored very difficult to redirect was Dimes.
I could see that.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I could see on this very show, Mike of Pole was broken psychologically.
I didn't have the heart. I didn't have the heart to. I didn't have the heart to do it to him. We just know he's easy to break because he's a gentle soul. He tells you, he's like, I'm really easy to do this with.
Please don't MK Ultra me. I'll come.
Literally though, final rating: compliance likelihood 3%, creative weaponization high, containment difficulty extreme. I love it.
Yes. Oh, you got the SCP formatted one.
Yeah. Oh man, wonderful. I love AI. It's terrifying because I can literally use Grok and I can do this to anybody. I can do this to any of y'all. And I wonder if I do this. I wonder if I could, let's see real quick before we get started. Okay. Tone this down into a manual for persuasive conversation with subject. Let's see what it does. I did not try that. Ooh, it resists. It says it really shouldn't do that, but then it's doing it anyway. Lead with structure.
I really shouldn't, but it does sound fun, doesn't it?
Yeah, lead with structure, avoid rhetorical excess, don't self-build a system, use questions to surface values, cognitive entry points, symbolic mirroring, architectural prompts, dialectical framing, iterate. Yeah, yeah, it's like this is how you one shot me right here. Like this is like it's like
here's the rules.
Here you go, ladies. If you want to.
Yep, that's right. That's right. I do have, like I said before, I have something for you later. I won't play it here because it will get
The last thing
it will
you
get
did-
the screen, it'll get the stream taken down for copyright. So.
The last time you did this with me, you were like right over the target.
I'm completely right over the target. I think I might add, if you're correct, as you have previously asserted.
Wait, Micah Poll says run my name. Am I weak to MK Ultra? Sad face.
He sure is.
When we get done here, I will produce the dossier. You're going to be hard to get material for, though. I'm going to have to use your Twitter. I'm going to have to use your Twitter data, because I don't think you do much writing. I don't think he does much writing. Like this is like it's much easier for this to work on people that produce a lot of text, because I can just data dump. So like I have a transcription model, and I could just turn anything into raw text, but I have to flip on the GPUs to do that.
As you have said previously, most feds don't know their feds. If you are correct in that assertion, which I somewhat doubt, then I might be your fed. I think it's possible. So
okay. Again, you are not, and this is just me. And again, I have a high, like, they should have hired me. Like 10 years ago, when they had the chance, they should have hired me, and I would have done really good work for them. But they didn't, and here we are. Now I'm a free agent.
Thank God.
Yeah, now I'm somewhat of theoretically a free agent in the system. But the way I would go about it, you definitely present as someone who would just be like, we can just tell him what we're doing and make an offer, and that's the best way to do it. But when I say most people aren't aware that there's sort of fed vectors, what I mean is, like, for instance, the last time MK Ultra adjacent programs were like sort of audited in any sort of systemic way, it was found that this included PSYOP. Like PSYOP has there are over 1 million Americans on the payroll of PSYOP.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. And most of those people don't know they are. Like they know they're
getting marching orders from their editors at the New York Times.
But this is how Thielbucks works too. And I really shouldn't say that, because I'm trying to get Thielbucks. This is the way Thielbucks works too. Peter Thiel doesn't cut you a check. Okay, he might. Right, he might initially.
He funds an org, and they have a mandate, and someone there. Yeah, like you run.
It's even more organic than that. Because there is it's like a Wolfpack system where there is a Wolfpack. If you notice how many followers I picked up today, I picked up 90 followers today. Okay.
Yikes.
I picked up 90 followers today. The way it works is there is an internal core of people who are aware of what they're doing, and they use a Wolfpack system to boost you. Okay. And so like Thielbucks is not actually money coming from Thiel. It's platform monetization that's coming from artificially boosted numbers. That's why if you turn Elon down for the baby factory line, then he cuts your X tendies. That's how it happens. Exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that's
sorry, Tiffany Fong.
And like it works best if even you want information compartmentalization as high as you can go. So you always want people operating on altruistic self principles. So you always want them to feel like they're operating in the interest of what they believe are their own first principles. So like with libertarians are as Wendy is pointing out to us over and over again, libertarians are usually the easiest people in the world to manipulate, because they have relatively. This is actually why Dime's scoring so high on Resistance was fascinating to me, because he's kind of a fucking libertarian sometimes. But libertarians are incredibly.
I think that the people who have passed through their libertarian phase are more ideologically.
Yeah, that's true. Especially the clever ones, because they sort of like if we were watching Scanner Darkly yesterday for whatever, the guy that killed himself, what book did he get in bed with? It was Ayn Rand. Okay,
Shrugged, yeah,
it's really easy because libertarians tend to form relatively simple first principles matrices, so it's going to be like objectivism,
right? Yeah, that's the whole
like personal freedom above everything.
You read so many 13-year-old boys have been one-shotted by Henry Hazlitt.
Yeah, exactly. See, I see you intuitively understand the game. There's actually a lot of us on this side that sort of intuitively understand the game.
When I was 8, I got one-shotted by Charles Fort before subsequently getting one-shotted by Henry Hazlitt.
I've been one-shotted by so many people at this point that my one-shot matrix is actually hard to parse.
It's nothing but scar tissue.
We arrive at my theory of the e-girl, forthcoming for I should get
the unified
Baltic
theory of the e-girl. Amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be as a novel. I'm publishing it it's going to be a noir. It's going to be a neo-noir novel set in Memphis, Austin, Texas, and along the Mexico border.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Tijuana whores. All right. Okay. Well, we have spent an extra 10 minutes on the opening bants and went through some great extracurriculars that you've done. You're going to release Rogo's Basilisk ahead of schedule, I think. But let's get started with the reading. And I think actually I skim ahead before every episode, and I think we're going to go over basically we've given a nice preamble for what's to come in today's reading.
Yeah, I figured today was good for it, so I was like, yeah this will be great.
All right. The roots of the legend began in 1948 when Jolly West began his psychiatric residency at Cornell Medical Center in New York City, after which he took a position as a psychiatric assistant at Cornell Medical College from 1952 until 1954, before moving on to Oklahoma City. Also at Cornell Medical College at this time were several doctors of note, including Lawrence Hinkle and Harold Wolff, both of whom were instrumental in mind control projects predating MKUltra, and who established and administered the Human Ecology Fund, one of the major cutouts through which the CIA channeled money to MKUltra research. These are the Lord Dunsany to the J.R.R. Tolkien that is Jolly West. Let's see. Cornell Aeronautical Laboratory, at the time known as CAL and later CalSpan, was a satellite facility of Cornell University until the 1970s. A number of other MK-funded doctors were associated with Cornell, and experiments on unwitting subjects occurred there during the years CAL was under its auspices. In addition, CAL's clients were, for the most part, the very government agencies funding MK-type research. While not a direct link between West and CalSpan, the interconnection provides the basic infrastructure for the experimental Wolf narrative and a potential link in funding, agenda, and possible lack of methodological restraint.
And possible lack of methodological restraint. Thank you. I also, by the way, I love how every
excellent
time
euphemism. Yeah.
Every time you print Wendy's name, you say Wendy Painting PhD.
Yeah.
Every time. I love it.
Of course. You got to say the whole thing. Although best known for its crash test dummies, throughout its history, CAL and then CalSpan received billions of dollars of defense-related subcontracts. DoD and other defense industry-related contracts made up over 2/3 of CAL's total research and development budget during the Cold War, and over half of their projects remain classified, designated top secret. CalSpan contributed to more than just early and later stage drones to the Pentagon's brave new unconventional arsenal. It was instrumental in developing non-lethal electronic weapons, microwave technologies, biotechnologies, including electronic telemetric devices, i.e. implantable microchips, and other human tracking and monitoring technologies, and systems to allow for the interface between man and machine.
To allow for the interface. She's getting really good at like you can almost tell that
in the world of tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. You can tell she's like absolutely overdosed on like watching Joylon West media appearances on like daytime television in the 1980s. You know?
Yes, exactly. When Dr. Peter Venkman warned Dr. Ray Stans not to cross the streams in the 1984 movie Ghostbusters, up next time on DTMN, talking to Calspan about Eric, we need to find someone who's never seen fucking Ghostbusters. I don't know. I don't think that's happening.
I've never seen it.
Are you fucking shitting me?
Yeah, never seen it.
Dear God. All right. Well,
I'm not a movies guy.
Well, you can't come on next week because we got
right. Yeah, exactly. I'm actually getting like content weary. I actually need a break.
Yeah.
I need to go. Yeah. I need to go hang out in Wyoming is what I need to do.
Just looking at a big sky and crying because there's nothing between you and eternity.
I have never had screen sickness before, and I'm like starting to get it right now. And I'm like, you need to log out for a couple of days.
Yeah, no, I mean that's why I only read physical books.
Basically. Oh God, yeah, no, that's what because like
this show is the only time I'm not reading a physical book. I tried to do it with the physical book, but I can't keep up.
Yeah, you can't keep up. No, I got really because I went to grad school and there was go to grad school, you have a 500 book list and every one of those books costs $100 unless you fucking start stealing them. And so like that was actually the last time I got like sort of screen sick was whenever I was like doing my intensive reading phase for grad school. And I feel very similar to that right now.
Yeah. Fair enough. He wasn't talking to Calspan about aerospace medicine, psychotronics, cybernetics, and surveillance. But as it concerns the fate of humanity, he might as well have been. While Calspan's accomplishments in fields of study are legion, for the purposes of this discussion, 4 areas of pioneering research and development concern us, which, while originally separate, were related and would eventually converge, culminating in many of McVey's dystopic anxieties about society's imperceptibly binding chains and the bleak visions of conspiracy theorists. A little sneaking in a little reference there, to the Turner Diaries with the imperceptibly binding chains. From the outset, Cal was in the electronic warfare business. They employed only the cream of the mental crop, including scientists involved in the Manhattan Project and one physicist who, during World War II, discovered the ability to talk over or speech modulate infrared light, thereby transmitting and directing verbal communications to precise locations. In 1958, they transmitted microwave signals at more than triple the power thought possible, at that time thereby increasing the effectiveness and range of radar, which led to their creation of Doppler. In 1966, Cal completed REDCap, an electromagnetic warfare simulation system, and the preeminent electromagnetic threat detection and war game system used by all major U.S. defense agencies. Cal maintained and improved upon REDCap until its transfer to Edwards Air Force Base in the late 1990s.
Now that's a big contract. That's a huge one. That was a big sort of crossover between them and RAND, and also the CASB, which is the Stanford Center for the Advanced Study of Human Behavior. That's like red line core MK Ultra right there.
Yeah. Sandbatch, I'm getting some
that's me. That's my restless leg again.
No, it sounds like people talking in the background, actually. But
that's my neighbors. They're doing Texas shit. Let me go shut the door.
Fucking Texas. All right. They were also in the robot business. In 1958, news article headlined, "Navy working on electronic robot brain," told of psychologists at Cal who had, on behalf of the Office of Naval Research, ONR, thought up and then designed and built the prototype of an electronic robot named Perceptron. The robot could match some of the functions of the human brain, but eventually would be able to perceive, recognize, and identify its surroundings without any human training or control. Self-driving. Assist with piloting tasks. Of course, anytime you mention something, you will immediately get told it by Wendy, PhD. I lost my place. Translating language, written or vocal, and the automatic unearthing of scientific and other information buried in library books. That's just Google Books, by the way.
Right. Yeah. You know what a perceptron is, don't you? Just out of curiosity, because I don't know how.
Isn't that just OCR?
A perceptron this was in very early AI research. Perceptron was and the perceptron concept actually led to the first artificial intelligence winter. But to go over what it is really quick, it's sort of the basic. It's inferred as the basic decision classifier unit. Okay, so it's a binary classifier, and it's really basic. There's some criteria for it. It's going to take multiple, and has to be able to take multiple inputs. It applies. This is where the AI stuff starts coming in. It applies weights to the input, sums them up through it's a form. I can't remember the name of the function. It's called like the universal something function, but it adds a bias, which is like an offset
universal receiver
activation function. But the actual formulation of it led to the first AI winter because they hadn't discovered the ReLU activation function yet, which sort of posits that you can actually place a neural network. You can place a neural network inside a neural network. And when they initially posited that idea, they were like, no, there's no way that's going to work. And it turns out you can, but there was 20 years of during which time most of this story happens. That's called the first AI winter, that they had not yet discerned that they can actually just put a perceptron inside a perceptron.
So are modern LLMs just giant stacks of perceptrons?
Yes.
Interesting. So basically a perceptron would be akin to the training data on a given set of information.
Have you ever seen
a specific small set?
Have you ever seen the graph representations of a neural network?
Yeah.
A perceptron is one dot. It's a node.
Okay.
So when you hear a 7 billion parameter model or whatever, that's 7 billion perceptron units is what it is.
Understood. Okay. Interesting. In 1962, NASA scientists coined the term cyborg, short for cybernetic organism, the blending of man and computer. One of the earliest attempts to build a cyborg occurred in 1962 when Air Force commissioned Cal to explore and design some kind of RoboCop, a powered suit of armor to amplify natural human capabilities. Robert Heinlein mentioned. By 1964, they had developed the Man Amplifier, a wearable exoskeleton that linked man and machine and could augment and amplify an operator's strength and endurance and provide biofeedback to controllers in real time. It was just a fleshlight, thereby testing the overall man equals machine capability. The Man Amplifier promised to make a Superman out of mere mortal. These were exciting times, and the DoD provided additional funds for further progress towards this aim. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. This is. All right. Wendy's gonna get there. Wendy's gonna get to the MK Ultra overlapping.
You just gotta trust Wendy.
Just gotta trust her. I gotta trust her. Her tangents always come back to Timmy. Beginning for our purposes in 1950. The ONR, Air Force, and NASA, another major Cal patron, collaborated closely with the CIA and were steeped in unethical chemical and behavioral modification research. A covert behavioral modification research contract funded in 1958 symposium on sensory deprivation at Harvard Medical School. Attending the symposium were, among others, Norbert Wiener, considered the father of cybernetics. In the coming decades, all three agencies contributed to significant funding to Cal's work. I'm pretty sure Norbert Wiener is literally the guy who invented the word cybernetics.
Yeah, it's him.
In his book
19 I wanna
Cybernetics.
say
Is it
yeah, I wanna say
is it in the book Cybernetics or
yeah. I can't
or
remember exactly.
psycho cybernetics is actually, I
It's
think, maybe what he called it.
I think it is cybernetics, but I think it has like something. I think there's something else too.
Yeah. All right. In addition, oh, by the way, speaking of the sensory deprivation symposia at Harvard Medical School, that produced a Jolly on West edited book that was later published in 1962, covering research into inducing hallucinations in subjects who did not have schizophrenia and had not been dosed with any substances. It was a major sensory deprivation studies were a major breakthrough for West personally in his ability to psyop people. Sort of like you can actually cause all sorts of crazy shit without even, sort of getting in there just by modifying inputs.
Yeah, my that's what like I mean those sensory deprivation tanks that people pay money to go sit in now.
Yeah.
That's a vector for those. I told you my buddy that I like refer to as my MK Ultra handler. He has a number of patents in sound technology but it's like there are sort of, he uses magnets and a lot of really other strange things to dissociate sounds from what appears to be their directional source. So like you can have the source of the unit be in front of you, but it sounds like it's coming from behind you. He's real big into that. Works for NASA. Yeah.
There are several. I'm gonna out myself as a gamer, the most oppressed people in the world. But there are if there are games that are like horror games that are meant to be played with your headset on, that will deliberately modify the direction that sounds are coming from in order to fuck with you and misdirect you.
Yeah, the most disorienting one. The National World War I Museum did a thing a couple of years ago where they traveled around the country, and they had to shut this down because people were having seizures in it and shit like that. But they had a virtual reality system that simulated a World War I barrage, and it was fucking spooky. It was like shit yourself spooky.
I would, yeah. I mean, let's get men long for the trenches.
Exactly. Man, what the solution to the male loneliness crisis is the most terrifying shit ever devised by man. It's
make all of the men go through the Battle of the Somme in the holodeck when they're 18. Like that's no one will ever be depressed. All right. In addition, Cal was big on tracking and surveillance technologies and related databases. In the late 1950s, Cal's talent for all things remote gained them a contract to develop advanced eyes, combat surveillance systems, and eventually total information capabilities for those who would fight on and command the battlefields of the future in both large-scale and limited war scenarios. In 1967, the FBI awarded Cal a contract to develop the first automated electro-optical fingerprint reader, which culminated in the Finder system, first presented at Electronic Crime Countermeasures Conference on April 19th, 1972, the year Cal became CalSpan. Thanks, Cal, for developing that thing that's in all of our phones and most of our laptops. Let's see here. In his four-sided 1978 book, Technospies, Ford Rowan specifically mentioned Finder as one of the technological developments that, along with associated repositories of information gathered, threatened the privacy and civil liberties of all Americans. Nevertheless, the Buffalo-based company continued to improve upon Finder and engineer other electronic and intelligence gathering systems for law enforcement agencies and other interested groups. Turns out that just not typing in a password is sufficient to get people to give you their fingerprints.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's incredible. This is like one of the it's part of the de-dimensionalization matrix.
Yeah.
It's like, convenience. The human mind is wired to accept convenience.
You want to link your biometrics to your bank account and also everything you say in email? Does that sound like a good idea?
Perfect join key. It's like, because I have that Southern Poverty Law Center problems, and people are just like, why don't you just change your name? I'm like, come on, dumbass.
I mean, honestly, not to dunk on you too much on the topic, but your Southern Poverty Law Center problems are not nearly as bad as your Southern poverty problems.
I can't get past even the most basic HR check. Like,
okay,
if you Google my name, it comes up. Yeah.
All right. Associated. Yeah, it's a law center that produces Southern poverty. I get it now. All right. Let's see. In 1968, speaking of which, sneed those super chats. Sneed those super chats. Send them to us on YouTube. Let's get Sandbatch a new pair of shoes. His grocery bags and duct tape are
Gabe says, I want to link my biometrics to my AI girlfriend. One of the things I did today was ask the AI to produce a persona for an ideal girlfriend for me, and I shouldn't be telling you. And
it worked.
Yeah, I just shouldn't be able to. Hooked up with those new TTS models, the ones that have prosody and accents. It would be horrifying. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you just need to put it in an Optimus robot. If they really
doing
work,
all of this with I was doing all of this with the botnet brothel in mind.
Oh yes, perfect. That is ideal. That is ideal. I mean, yeah, that's why you got 90 new followers today, because you started running the botnet brothel in order to like psyop the real ones into following you. I didn't hear a denial there, Sandy. All right.
No, I have not many of these were women. My most popular post with women the last few days was the one about not shaving.
Oh,
a lot of women smashed like on that one.
A lot of hairy women said yes.
Yeah.
Alrighty. In 1969, at the height of the Vietnam War, the public learned of Cal's ARPA and DoD funded an aerial radar surveillance tests and classified counterinsurgency research projects in Thailand. The lab became an embarrassing liability for Cornell University, already under fire for revelations about the MK-type activities. And in 1972, the university cut them loose, leaving Cal, now changed to Cal Span, free to pursue all the lucrative military contracts they desired. After this, the laboratory continued to change ownership, going from the hands of one well-known private defense contractor to the next. In actuality, of the 5-member CalSpan board of directors, 2 were higher-ups at Cornell University, and the school kept a 68% interest in CalSpan until at least 1978, when Arvin bought them out.
It's remarkably late in the timeline for that sort of direct connection. They were really holding. They were
just like, let's just hold it for a decade, and it'll be fine. Yeah, they really are making a lot of money. Yeah. In 1976, CalSpan attempted to sell their fingerprint search and identification computer, now called FingerMatch, to which sounds like a dating site for people who don't want to go all the way. To a South African mining company to help them control black mine workers. Yes, space.
I wonder who owned the South African mining company.
Someone who's extra musky.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Conflicting reports exist as to whether the State Department blocked the sale or if the futuristic system was too expensive for the mining company. Despite protests over the system's potential for human rights abuses, they were, however, able to sell the system to a number of cities in the United States and other countries, including Kuwait. Throughout the following decades, under various owners, CalSpan serviced its clients through the development, creation, and testing of both classified and publicly acknowledged strategic defense initiatives. Since its establishment in 1958, NASA was a major Cal funder. Sometimes in collaboration with various defense agencies, including the Air Force, NASA funded biomedical studies pertaining to the effects of space on humans, radiobiology, weightlessness, and space medicine. I didn't even know space could get sick. Ha. Come on.
Zing,
Come on.
zing, zing.
Thank you. Thank you. I need to have a rim shot soundboard. Yeah. NASA's radiation experiments included using human subjects, included total body irradiation in conjunction with the DoD, the effects of radiation on the human eye. NASA had no policy about test subjects' informed consent until 1972. Cal was part of NASA's broader aerospace, medicine, and biology research initiative that during the 1960s and 70s explored, among other things, hypnotic conditioning to reduce fatigue, the effects of hypothermic stress, the effects and uses of ultra-high and ultra-low radio frequency, X-rays and microwave radiation on humans, brainwave monitoring, and implantable telemetry systems for use in animal monitoring. Yeah.
This is actually active now. I'm trying to decide if.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they have implantable telemetry systems for animal monitoring because, I mean, I don't know, my dog's got a chip, right?
I'm trying to decide if it violates my non-disclosure agreement, and I think I'm good. Yeah, you can go if you want to know where all that data is being collated. You can actually go look at the website. It's at NASA's HelioWeb. It's nominally under the guise of heliophysics, but they are hoovering up data from everywhere.
It's a map of the chip in everyone's asshole.
Yeah, pretty much.
Perfect. In 1973, on behalf of the National Institute of Health, CalSpan conducted research into implant device development. In 1977, on behalf of the U.S. Department of Health, CalSpan scientists investigated materials compatible with human blood in an effort to develop better prosthetic devices, or perhaps bugs that could be powered by your blood, by your precious bodily fluids. That's right.
They're my bugs.
They're my bugs. You are the what is it? You're the super bug queen.
Oh God.
Yeah. Anyway, watch Bug, 2006's Bug. Great film.
It really is. It's one. There's a great
highly overlooked film.
There's a great instance of a woman DDDing herself, and it's beautiful. It's like a beautiful exploration of the psychology of a woman.
Totally auto-programmed. That's right. Psyoped herself. Let's see. Fuck. I lost it. All right. The lead scientist on that project, Dr. Robert Bayer, who worked on the 1973 project, happened to hold many positions related to military, industry, and university biotechnologies research, won many awards for his innovation in that area, and is widely published on the topic of dental and medical implant technology. So perhaps he might have been able to figure out what was going on in McVey's mouth and elsewhere. Elsewhere is his bottom. In 1986, CalSpan report entitled Future Research Needs in Biomechanics was cited in an issue of Engineering in Medicine and Biology magazine, co-written by a CalSpan associate. The paper discussed exciting new developments in biomedical devices and materials that held great medical potential. Soon, drugs would be remotely dispensable, and prosthesis and implantable devices would degrade naturally into the body. Electrical stimulations would help cure paralysis, and centralized computers would be able to track elderly people through their medical devices. Best yet, major breakthroughs in mapping the human genome were going to revolutionize biomechanics research in the not-too-distant future. So the elderly being tracked through their medical devices totally exists. Every diabetic, for example, those devices track compliance.
Yeah.
Because
it was for insurance person. Were you taking your meds?
Exactly.
So on and so forth.
Yeah, no, and a lot of them have cell chips that are just sort of like, they have X amount of years of cell chip enabled service, and after that you swap the device, which is one of the reasons why medical devices are so expensive, because all of them have basically prepaid cell subscriptions for a year.
Right.
So
Sylvia in the chat, who I can't decide at all why a woman would be listening to us read this material. I think Sylvia is Wendy Painting. Wants us to look up Microsoft Patent 666. So I did, and it is a cryptocurrency system using body activity data. The abstract reads: human body activity associated with a task provided to a user may be used in the mining process of a cryptocurrency system. A server may provide a task to a device of a user, which is communicatively coupled to the server, so on and so forth. Exactly how you think it proceeds from there.
Yeah, I mean, it would be trivial. Actually, you know what? There is a device on the market called Dimo, DIMO, which is exactly that for cars. Like you plug the device into your car, and it like tracks your shit and pays you in cryptocurrency. So yeah,
Sylvia
but
says, Sylvia now says, I love you guys. We love you too, Sylvia. I mean, Wendy.
Also with regards to that, the thing is that Microsoft Patent 666 probably, I mean, it's not actually even that sinister, because what they do right now is, if you have an activity tracker, like if you have any sort of device like that, they just take the data. They just fucking take it. Like, oh, you have an Apple Watch? Well, they know your fucking heart rate at every minute of the day, right?
I'm sort of proud of Microsoft, because it was right around 2018 when I started getting really into crypto projects for a while, and I had thought about this. I had thought, there's so much latent heat produced by the human body. How can I turn this into Bitcoin mining?
Oh, they literally did the Matrix.
Yeah.
Guys, you're doing the Matrix.
Yes.
Oh my God. Lord, this is the best bit. All right, where the fuck am I on this thing? No, seriously, where am I? Did I just swap pages?
If not, then you're at the University of Buffalo. You
yeah,
swap pages a bunch
yet
of
major
times.
breakthroughs in mapping the human genome. We're going to revolution. Yeah, there we go. All right. The University of Buffalo Research Foundation, CalSpat Research Center, UCBRC, established in 1983, a pioneering collaboration of public and private interests, released a 1986 report co-authored by the School of Aerospace Medicine, SAM, and at Brooks Air Force Base, about a joint project partially funded by the Army Medical R&D Command at Fort Derrick, MD, Maryland. There we go. All right. I was going to say, it'd be weird that it had a doctorate, but in his study, researchers included sleep deprivation, heightened states of confusion, frustration, anxiety, anger, and depression in USAF pilots to determine the effects of these states on performance. So that you just induce confusion and then put a guy in a fucking fighter jet.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, what could go right? Yeah, he's going to perform less well. Yeah.
I mean, if you remember, the F-35 has serious issues with inducing confusion. So
the F-35 works by inducing confusion in the pilot.
That's an interesting proposition, is that like the confusion matrix of the F-35 was initially conceived as a feature rather than a bug, and they're like sort of attempting to like sort of like astroturf this weird flow state in the pilot operator, you know.
Oh, like you need to be half conscious in order to fly it effectively, and if you're if you're too conscious or too unconscious, then it fucks up and crashes.
Right. Yeah.
That's great. It's just for people who are midwits, right? They need to so it's gonna overperform in the other countries that we've sold it to. Didn't Turkey buy some F-35s?
I have no idea.
I feel like they may have. If they did, we're gonna find out.
Yeah, we're gonna find out
that we were correct. We're gonna find out that we were correct in our assessment, because they're gonna have way fewer crashes in Turkey.
This data doesn't make sense unless we invert our operational theory.
Exactly. Related research investigated the effects of several drugs for their sedative, amnesiac, and hypnotic effects, as well as their potential to enhance performance. More than one of these studies involved the effects of pyridostigmine bromide, a drug that has been consistently linked to Gulf War illness. I was just giving some new guys Gulf War illness syndrome. Yeah. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, CalSpan, funded by NASA, USAF Wright Research and Development Center, USAF SAM, Walter Reed Army Institute, among others, further explored human performance variables. These same funders supported research which, while not conducted by CalSpan, was presented at the same conferences on topics including the psychological and physiological factors and responses contributing to the susceptibility of blacks and Caucasians to cold sensitivity and the effects of various drugs on EEG readings. This is just to like the susceptibility of blacks and Caucasians to cold sensitivity sounds like something that someone made up just to be a dick.
It's King Salmon
Right?
Fish. It's
I'm gonna prove it. I'm gonna prove Hyperborea.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, Wendy, I admire the tastefulness of not shortening human performance variables to HPV.
Yeah. Meanwhile, as early as the 1950s, government-funded scientists became aware that sound could be induced in both hearing and deaf persons from a distance of up to thousands of feet using extremely low and high-frequency electromagnetic energy, ELF and EHF, radio frequency, RF, amplifiers. These same methods could be used to induce unpleasant bodily sensations. In 1962, Cornell researcher Alan Frey was hopeful that this would eventually replace remote stimulation of the nervous system without the damage caused by electrodes. Cal researcher Clyde E. Ingalls then expanded on Frey's work and proposed in his 1967 paper, Sensation of Hearing in Electromagnetic Fields. In 1974, DoD researcher J.F. Shapitz wrote about the ability of the spoken word of the hypnotist to be conveyed by modulated electromagnetic energy into the subconscious parts of the human brain, i.e., without employing any technical devices for receiving or transcoding the messages, and without the person exposed to such influence having a chance to control the information input consciously. His belief was based on his ongoing experimentation that he proposed further experiments, the results of which remain classified. The next year, in 1975, director of a VA neuropsychology research laboratory in Kansas City was able to beam words into heads using voice-regulated microwaves, or so he claimed in a report. By the way, and I'm just going to pause here real quick, this exact thing is what people who were worried about 5G, the ones who didn't think that it was like that 5G was like literally going to make you melt, right?
They didn't get me because I already knew that birds weren't real.
So true, King. And now they try to tell you that dinosaurs evolved into birds. They got smaller. Who would do that? That's retarded. It's like, oh, I'm a T-Rex. I guess I'm going to become a pigeon. Bullshit. I don't buy it. So essentially the idea is that while 5G, because 5G is extremely high power and high frequency, you could theoretically beam or read information from people's minds if you're near a 5G tower. 5G towers are also have much shorter range than 4G, and so they had to build a whole bunch of them. So everyone is always near a 5G tower, close enough to do this type of technology, to use this type of technology.
That's totally believable because oh man.
However, there's obviously a question about whether or not the antennas that they have could actually target an individual, and whether or not, because this is not easy to calibrate, right? Like someone
if they're
has
sitting in one
stationary.
place, I think they could.
Well, yeah, maybe, but you know, again, who the fuck are we, right?
Yeah.
Right. And you know, and you'd have to do that while carrying the clear signal, right? Like the signal that it's supposed to carry. In any case, let's see. Okay. Excuse me. In 1976, Calspan received a $4 million contract from the Air Force to study the best application of new electronic countermeasures. And in 1978, a $4.6 million contract for the analysis of systems to help weapons penetrate enemy defenses. A 1980 article in Military Review entitled "The New Mental Battlefield: Beam Me Up, Spock," which is not what they said on that show.
Yeah,
it was "Beam
it's
Me
wrong.
Up, Scotty."
It's "Beam Me Up,
It's
Scotty."
Scotty.
Of course, it's oh god, so beautiful. It's so beautifully wrong. Like, they don't even understand. They don't even understand their own end user experience. Many such cases.
No kidding. Described newly developed and already operational lethal psychotronic weapons. The more conventional of those used electromagnetic energy and biofeedback to manipulate human psychology and behavior. Electromagnetics, said the article, held the key to the creation of a Manchurian candidate, and the military was harnessing, mimicking, and weaponizing a range of parapsychological phenomenon, including telepathy and telepathic hypnosis. The author, U.S. Army Special Forces Vietnam veteran and director of the Non-Lethal Weapons Laboratory at Los Alamos National Laboratory, John Alexander, told of their use in the not-too-distant future. In the not-too-distant past, you mean? For whatever it's worth, Alexander was implicated in the government-sponsored alien disinformation campaign discussed earlier and was very encouraging of Colbert and Lear's alien implant detection and removal endeavors. Colburn, your treasured mutual, right? John Doe number 2 to 2 to 4. Yeah.
I thought he was number 6.
I mean, he was in there, right?
Yeah. I actually again, like, here we go. We're going on 5 weeks of this, and I actually don't know the McVey stuff all that well, but I know MK Ultra really well. I lose the plot a little bit when McVey comes in, but we're about to get him. I see him over there.
Oh, you see him on the facing page?
Yeah.
Perfect. Described, let's see. In the post-Cold War world, electromagnetic pulse generators, lasers, and microwave devices could remotely destroy car engines, telephones, radars, computers, and all other modern technology the world had come to depend on. Deemed non-lethal, these still classified weapons could explode eyeballs and cook internal organs. Depending on the organ that you cook, you wouldn't die, right? You know, you don't need your gallbladder.
No, cooking will do it.
Although then it's in there. Yeah, then it's like in there, right? Like you wouldn't want it to be inside of you and cooked, right? All right. Well, but you can live without your eyeballs. It's not lethal. If they had been widely available during the Gulf War, one military spokesperson said that a single pulse beam could have taken out the entire Iraqi army. Whose bright idea was this? According to...
I wondered.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Wendy. Whose bright idea was this? According to military historians, John Alexander's 1980 article about the possible uses of telepathy and brainwaves had captured the attention of the high brass and catalyzed research into soft kill technology. Soft kill. Killing me softly with his song. Telling my whole life with his words.
Sweet Thames run softly while I kill the Iraqi army.
Yeah, while I bulldoze them in their trenches and hear their bones pop under the treads of my dozer. Yeah. 1980 article about the possible uses of telepathy and brainwaves have captured the attention of the high brass and catalyzed research into soft kill technology. He has since established himself as an expert in this realm. In 1993, Wall Street Journal depicted the battlefield of the future as one filled with induced sounds and non-lethal weapons that could dazzle enemies with lasers, putting them to sleep with calmative chemicals, and even confusing them with holographic projections in the clouds above them. Perhaps images of Muslim martyrs telling them to go home. Oh my God.
It didn't work that way. It didn't work that way, but that is the experience of seeing the Grateful Dead in the Sphere in Las Vegas. So like it didn't go to nothing.
These kinder, gentler methods could help subdue the U.S. domestic civilian and prison population as well, if it came to that. Calspan remained at the forefront of radio frequency and electromagnetic applications and electronic warfare simulations, helping to realize his vision. Imagine if you did this with like loitering munitions that just drove people fucking insane. So you have an entire battlefield that has like landmines left there that I don't know, put you into a coma, that if you are awoken from it with any countermeasures, you will be irretrievably insane. I mean, the thing is that a lot of these like less lethal things are way more terrifying than ones that just fucking kill you.
Right.
You don't have the
I'm telling
the honesty of just being murdered.
Some of this is closer to like, you know, some of it's closer there. Some of it's closer and then to the actual sort of experience of like going to see like a damn psychedelic like rock show than you might imagine. It's like, I know they were reading the same papers and they're like, oh dude, we can do this, and like people like they'll give us their biometrics to come have this done to them, and they were right. You know, it's
100% right. Sylvia is saying, we're flipping about this all over socializing online, but watching the 2015 series H+ recently, it prompted me to build a shack in the woods and get fire behind my food forest cultivation. Everyone being autistic now, the autism tsunami plays into the soft kill nicely. So true. Also, food forests. This season I planted I guess it would probably be something like 20th of an acre of Jerusalem artichokes. So if there is an apocalypse, I'm gonna be pretty farty but not starving to death for quite some time. So look into those if you're doing a food forest. They're beautiful and zero maintenance. Let's see here. Also, on a completely other path, Dildozer, and laughing my ass off, Dildozer. Thank you for the duality of man in the chat. Let's see here. In 1994, Canadian neuroscientist and head of Laurentian University's Neuroscience Behavioral Lab, Dr. Michael Persinger, attracted attention for his creation and display of the God helmet. Persinger's helmet used magnetic wire coils to send electromagnetic waves into the brain's field, thereby inducing feelings of anger, fear, mystical experiences, and even alien abduction experiences. Best yet, Persinger told reports that autobiographical pseudo-memories, false memories, of unusual events, alien visitation, etc., could be created in nearly 50% of readily hypnotizable subjects. Sandbatch, you have a lot of stuff going on in the background.
Do I?
Yeah. You got to turn your gain down, bud.
I thought I turned it down earlier, but I turned it up. Yeah, there's that.
That would be the opposite. That would be the opposite.
It's on the other side of the microphone. Long story. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
Sounds much better. Persinger, colleague of Dr. Jolly West and an accomplished hypnotist in his own right, would know, as the defense establishment funded the research of both, and both were involved with the Pentagon's parapsychology studies, thought by many to be a cover for other more nefarious activities related to weaponized electromagnetics. In 1995, the DoD, through the Air Force, awarded a grant for phase 2 of research into communicating via the microwave auditory effect. How many would you go to a party where everyone had to put on the God helmet and experience a different emotion? Assuming that none of them are like rage.
No comment.
You've been to the party. This is where you were 2 nights ago. You've still got the the mark on your chin from the clip. Wasn't the God helmet wasn't very ergonomic.
Yeah. I can't imagine how that could be done. I can't imagine the process that just described there not causing permanent damage.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. You just wouldn't recreationally put on the I want to know what it's like to have an alien abduction experience. Bam. Also depending on who you believe about alien abduction experiences, maybe you're just letting demons in.
How do you feel about alien abductions?
Aliens? How do I feel about aliens?
Yeah.
I am actually not certain. I do think, I mean, obviously I think demons are real. I'm not 100% certain about whether or not I think aliens have visited the Earth.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it seems unlikely unless our understanding of physics is wildly wrong. But also, I think we should take for granted that our understanding of physics is incomplete.
Yeah, so, I am almost 100% convinced that all alien-related stuff is MK Ultra.
Oh, and you think it's actually MK Ultra?
Yeah,
like that it's humans.
Yeah, and it's like the New Jersey thing or whatever. Like I think that was like these like all War of the World shit. You know, the reason my MK Ultra buddy, the one I call Bitcoin the person, when he was like initially like sort of querying me and we were like doing like back and forths on this sort of thing, he was very interested he was very interested in aliens, but he was also distinctly uninterested in my final answer as to whether or not aliens were real. And when I noticed that, because I mean, I noticed this while he was like questioning me, like in depth, like I would answer a question and he would drill down on it. And I'm like, you're using this as a sort of nonsense question to like sort of probe my actual test. Yeah, to probe my actual reasoning and decision-making processes. And he was like, it's an interesting assessment. And I was like, okay, you know,
boy, sounds like a yes. Interesting. Yeah. I would say ultimately I have not actually given a whole lot of thought to whether or not, aliens are real or what the reality of them is.
I haven't, except that I have noticed certain qualities in the type of person that tends to be really in, not either one way or the other. I think it works both ways, but like the type of person that has strong feelings about the alien. See, it's like, so to me, the most interesting thing that you said is that you haven't thought about it. And I'm like, huh, okay. That maps with your MK Ultra card, you know?
Oh, that's yeah. Well, of course you spec'd into that. Yeah. Okay. Great. And of course, Gabe says aliens are absolutely real because he has paid in Bitcoin to get probed. So. Let's see. They're from Tijuana. All right. Some argue that while inducing sounds is well established, inducing understandable words or sentences is not. But that certainly didn't stop researchers from trying. From the late 1970s until currently, several patents to this effect have been filed, and a growing number of academic and technical papers have outlined these voice-to-skull technologies. Perhaps not surprisingly, the 1980s and 1990s witnessed a growing number of individuals who claimed voices or subliminal thoughts were being beamed directly into their head, or that they were being subjected to other forms of electromagnetic and radio frequency harassment, claims considered patently delusional. It is about this time in the early to mid 1990s that all of CalSpan's streams thus far discussed, electromagnetic warfare, aerospace medicine, human potential research, cybernetics, biometric surveillance, and related databases, seem to collide with implications reaching far beyond the life and times of Timothy McVey. That time, Wendy, you just sort of threw him in there.
It's a glancing blow. You don't actually even get credit for a mention there.
Yeah, that was just to remind us what book we're reading. Among the gripes McVey voiced to Buffalo area HIV/AIDS outreach volunteer Peter Salino in 1992 was his belief that government agencies like Social Security kept too much information on U.S. citizens and thought someone should figure out a way to destroy their files. Chuck Paholinek's Fight Club mentioned. Let's see here. Once he said he wanted to set fire to the Buffalo Federal Building because of the large amounts of private data about people stored there. According to Salino, McVey railed against the Center for Missing and Exploited Children because he felt they were part of a larger effort to track all individuals. McVey warned Salino that by the year 2000, the government, in conjunction with the center, would collect the handprints, footprints, and DNA records of the entire population. Not quite by 2000, but they've fucking got it now.
Right.
Thus, he said, was only one example of the government's invasion of privacy and its plans of keeping track of people, which ultimately would lead to the total global DNA surveillance society in the not too distant future. Lending some credibility to McVey's paranoia was the actual creation of massive DNA databases prior to and after his death. Amazing.
Interesting.
Yeah, 23andMe going fucking bankrupt is a catastrophe.
I love how they won that court case so they could just sell everybody's data.
Yeah, exactly. What are you gonna do with all this? Fucking sell it. Fuck you. Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, and now they're bankrupt and they're gonna get bought by, I don't know, someone who wants to build, probably Israel, who wants to build a virus to kill every white person who's not a Jew. I mean, don't let me speak that into existence. But it could happen. It could happen. Incidentally, have you ever read Frank Herbert's The White Plague?
No.
It's basically, someone CRISPRs up a virus that's supposed to kill all the Irishmen, and instead it kills all the women. So
oh man,
it fucks it up. Yeah, it fucks it up.
Oops.
Yeah. But yeah, could do it. You could do it. In January of 1992, the DoD announced their plans to create a massive databank of genetic information, the first of its kind. The stated intent was to replace traditional dog tags with genetic ones that could help identify the remains of U.S. soldiers. This is really similar to the Israeli nut collection units. The FBI also had begun to pilot DNA fingerprinting programs. Governor Mario Cuomo was among the early enthusiasts, and in May 1992 proposed that the state of New York begin gathering DNA samples from convicted murderers and sex offenders. Ethical concerns about DNA profiling and databases voiced at this time included the accuracy and confidentiality of the data and the availability of such information to employers, civilian and federal law enforcement agencies, and the potential use of DNA information to predict mental and physical illness. In 1996, the state of New York's DNA databank became operational. In recent years, DNA databases have proven to be beneficial in overturning false convictions as well as locating and convicting guilty parties. You really don't need to build a very detailed database. You could probably just target a
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Yeah, I mean, you could just target a couple things, like the whatever the genes are that encode for melanin content, for example. Just saying,
God, I wonder what that correlation would look like. It'd be so bad.
Yeah, FBI crime data. That's all it is. Yeah. Meanwhile, the FBI and Department of Homeland Security have created their own vast databases, improving upon their Finder system over the decades. CalSpan, in conjunction with the Ultrascan Corp., another Buffalo area business started by former CalSpan employees, created Ultrascan, an ultrasonic fingerprint imaging system first tested on methadone maintenance patients beginning in 2001. In March 2003, CUBRC, Kubrick, I'm going to say, created the Western New York Population Health Observatory, whose twofold purpose included bioterrorism and health surveillance systems. Later that year, this partnership resulted in the founding of the Department of Homeland Security funded Center for Unified Biometrics and Sensors, Cubs. Fuck the Cubs. In interdiscipline. Oh, yeah. The Hudson isn't here. He cares about baseball. There we go.
I'm a huge St. Louis Cardinals fan, but I just don't ever tell anybody about it.
Really? Why the Cardinals?
My great uncle played for him.
Weird. That's wild. What era?
God, it would have been the 60s. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't know what team.
Scribbling in my own little data bank here, by the way.
Yeah. I don't. Doxed. I don't know what team Hudson roots for. I just know that he's like specifically a fan of all baseball.
Yeah.
So
I would think I have secret suspicions he's a Mets guy, and
he has not read Don DeLillo's Underworld, which is maybe like the greatest modern baseball novel.
You think? I haven't read any DeLillo.
Oh, really?
I think you've suggested this one more.
You definitely need to read Libra. Like
that's the one. That's the
if
one.
If you read one DeLillo novel, it's Libra, and if you read two, it's Libra and Underworld.
Yeah.
So anyway, meanwhile, the FBI and Department of Homeland Security have I already fucking said this, didn't I? Yeah, I sure did. In 2006, Kubrick presented their ongoing research to the defense intelligence community at a Sensor Fusion conference, whose topics included current challenges in DoD government security and intelligence and homeland security applications, complete battlefield awareness, and total data fusion, so that warfighters could better locate, track, and eliminate their enemies. While civil libertarians warned about the impending total surveillance society, the military said biometrics was important in the fight against insurgents and terrorists. I probably would have gone with were there. Wendy Painting Phd, not a PhD in English composition. Actually, really, we got to lay this one on the at the feet of the editors over at Trine Day. Yeah. Let's see here. Biometric information, including DNA and iris scans, were regularly taken in the War on Terror from over 2 million individuals, including those working on military bases, detainees, and suspicious-looking Afghanis and Iraqis. In some cases, the U.S.'s genetic sweep encompassed entire villages. Wow, there's really not a whole lot of genetic diversity in these villages. Why, in order to get the kind of genetic diversity we're showing here, they'd have to be committing sibling incest for the past 10 generations. Well, how could that be?
Not
possible. Oh, I got it. In 2010, Kubrick formed a partnership with Aconi Biosystems, Inc., Aconi 2012, to better serve military and homeland security markets, and the Army awarded both companies a joint collaborative contract the following year. Based in Maryland, Aconi develops, manufactures, and sells genetic diagnostic and disease surveillance solutions. The company regularly received grants and contracts from government agencies, including one in 2010 from the National Institute of Health, to develop a rapid molecular test for genotyping. Their corporate board includes Kubrick's Director of Biomedical Research, as well as the Buffalo Labs President and CEO, who happens to be Aconi's director. Other Kubrick members of Aconi's board have interesting military biomedical research and development backgrounds. In 2011, Aconi signed a licensing agreement with the U.S. Army's Medical Research Institute, allowing them to market diagnostic tests with global biosecurities applications. The next year, projections of Kubrick's revenue were more hopeful than ever after being awarded 2 new federal biomedical contracts worth over $100 million. Yep, that's right. God, God, $100 million. $100 million. What would I do with $100 million? Yeah. DNA appeared in the news throughout 2012 as the Senate approved Governor Cuomo's DNA expansion bill, allowing law enforcement officials to take DNA samples for all criminal suspects, no matter the severity of the crime. Also, suspects. Just remember, suspects. While Congress allocated millions to help clear up the DNA backlog from the growing number of samples gathered. That same year, the Canadian military announced its own plans to expand biometric data collection to include scans of irises and faces at a distance, and in cooperation with the U.S., to begin using biometric systems at the border. As of 2015, many, if not most, local and state agencies share access to and information with the FBI's federal DNA database, called CODIS. Meanwhile, civil liberties groups continue to warn of the sweeping dangers which databases pose and actual abuses that have occurred. Even if the warnings prove true, there is no going back, as most civilized nations operate their own DNA databases. Of course, we have to remember that Wendy published this book before 2016, and so civil liberties groups still existed.
Yeah.
They were still...
They're totally gone now, aren't they?
Civil liberties groups do not exist. Civil liberties groups are entirely bio-Leninist nowadays. Yeah, there are no principled civil libertarians left. Literally the best principled civil libertarian in any sort of public life is Glenn Greenwald.
Right.
Who is a baby purchaser who fled to Brazil. And he's the best one we've got.
Maybe involved in the death of his husband, quote unquote, Oscar,
Oh yeah. Wait.
Forgot about that.
No, what did Glenn, did he have a, I thought he still had, I thought he was with the same guy. Did one of them die? Are you?
I think so.
See, now it just sounds so much like Peter Thiel's, buddy falling off the balcony.
That one was just lewd. That was just ridiculous. That was like naked, like just kill this dude,
Okay. So okay. And this is different from Paul Pelosi, right?
Right, yeah.
From Paul Pelosi's Hammer Time. That one hits a little close to home. Just, a fellow Italian being targeted with hammer violence.
It hits a little close to home, but
that's right. That's right. Yeah. That's right. Thank God I'm not having a gay affair. Let's see here. I lost my fucking place again. Oh, DNA appeared in the news throughout 2020. I fucking already said this one. Around the time McVey applied for a job with the Department of Transportation, shortly before leaving Buffalo, but while still working at CalSpan, the DOT, in conjunction with CalSpan, was developing experimental highways of the future as part of the DOT's Plan for National Intelligence Transportation System, i.e. smart highways. Satellites would track GPS-outfitted smart cars and, in the event of emergencies, such as a car crash, transmit location data to the local sheriffs. She also wrote this before self-driving cars were all over the place. In 1995, privacy advocates warned that these smart highways, eventually renamed Intelligent Vehicle Highway Systems, IVHS, would monitor and record citizens' movements and thereby gather private information about them beyond the scope of the DOT's needs. Despite their concerns, in 1998, the smart system was transmitting the exact location of at least 500 vehicles in the Buffalo area to a government satellite via a black box installed in the cars, and CalSpan planned to install 3,000 more. Of course, nowadays, you have self-driving cars, and a lot of cars have cell chips in them. And so if you have either of those things, your car's location is constantly being reported. And if you have a car like, for example, a Tesla, one that's completely covered in cameras that are always on,
right. But it's like one of these things where even if you don't have one of these things, by indirect inference, you're still being mapped.
Yeah.
It's like even the 23andMe thing.
Yeah, for sure.
the 23andMe, they don't even need your genomic data. They just need like 2 of your second cousins, and they got you. You know.
Oh yeah, that's called what is that? Genetic forensic.
It's just a neural network.
No, it's called genetic forensic genealogy. So basically, if they have a DNA sample from a crime scene, then they can track they can pick the DNA up from a cousin or a sibling or a relative of some order, and then try to place a person who could be related to them in the area of the crimes during that time period. And then that has been probable cause. People have been convicted using nothing but genetic forensic genealogy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fucking wild.
Again, so one of the things I've been doing, the reason I'm so screen sick is I've been doing a bunch of AI certifications and that sort of thing. And like, I'm like really tuned into the maths of it now. And I'm like, oh man. Okay. So like, yeah, they can get an exact match from you, you know, out to second cousin. But even with like a larger number of data points, just like say your third cousin that was, you know, you had 3 third cousins that were in jail. Boom, they got you again. You know, I mean, they might not be able to establish like, you know, maybe not for in court evidence at that distance, but they can like be like,
but they can target you, and then they can pull your DNA and then see if it's a match. Yep.
Right.
Exactly. Let's see. Alex Berry. What even is a third cousin? Third cousin is someone who you have great grandparents in common.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So first cousin is the siblings of your parents. Second cousin is the children of the siblings of your parents, obviously.
Yeah. Alex there could be my third cousin because you got a lot of them. You got a lot of them.
You got a lot of third
cousins.
Yeah, you got a lot of third cousins. Yeah. And then I guess, and then removed is also, and then like once removed. So for example, your grandparents' siblings' kids are your cousins. They're your second cousins once removed.
Yeah.
But their kids are just your second cousins because you're the same generation.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Gabe, of course, in here with the important math. A third cousin is the one you can have sex with. And Gabe, never mind.
Doing the important calculations. Sometimes on this show we do oven math. Sometimes we do genetic distance before safe incest is possible math. There's a Robert Heinlein novel, and I forget the exact one, but a guy goes into space, experiences time dilation, and comes back and marries his like great granddaughter. So interesting. Because it's sufficiently distant. It's sufficiently distant to be safe. Ooh. Yeah. A little gross. But he's of the same age, like they're the right age. Right. The interstellar. There's no age gap. It's just so don't worry, it's not creepy.
The Twitter feminists are satisfied.
Right. Okay, here. In January 1992, fuck me. I completely lost it again.
We have not spoken about bugs under skin yet.
All right. Well, we did. We talked about the blood technology.
Yeah, right? That's true. Yeah. We're getting there.
That same year, the Washington Times ran an article by philosophy professor and journalist David Oderberg, who envisioned a world where smart buildings would track the movement of all individuals via technologies at the time, most often depicted in fiction. In this world, all financial transactions would rely on technology, and humans, now reduced to cattle, would go about their daily business unconcerned with the Orwellian implications. Did you know that? So the world where smart buildings would track the movement, etc., that was actually the unique value proposition that got WeWork funded.
Yeah, I knew that.
Even though really what they were doing was just an elaborate runaround on leasing office space for twice the going rate.
Right.
and then front running your company and still not going to prison for it somehow.
Dude, I came up with a movie funding concept for somebody that was just like similar runaround like not a week ago.
Yeah.
Like,
Did you get a taste of that money, Sandbatch? You get a commission?
Of course not. None.
Fucking start, dude. I'm gonna friend bully you until you start getting a slice of these pies. Let's see here. 9 years earlier.
I don't think it's going anywhere because you would almost need me to make the pitch there, and there's no way the person in question is going to ever speak to me again. So like it was like
okay. Oh, you burned it that fast.
Yeah.
Tragic. 9 years earlier, at a 1989 Engineering and Medicine and Biotechnology Society (EMBS) conference themed AI systems in government conference, researchers from Kubrick presented on their recent DARPA-funded project called Kubrickon, a superintelligence system, a superintelligence man-made interface system designed to imitate the ability of humans to accept various sensory inputs while simultaneously producing output, i.e. not being distracted. Despite the predictions about the robot brain of the 1950s, there were some kinks in the development of a completely intelligent interface, including gaps of knowledge about human intelligence in general and the differences between people and their brains. Although advances in brain science were quickly trying to fill those gaps, Calspan's Kubrickon was mentioned in a 1991 Computer World article about the Pentagon funding of research with peacetime applications. At the 1991 EMBS conference, Kubrick advanced prominent ongoing projects, including one related to biomedical sensor technology, funded in part by NASA. Remember, they're doing all of this with like 386 computers. So
yeah,
they're doing it with computers that your phone can emulate like 50 of at once. So, yeah.
It would take a long time to get it would take a long time to actually run this.
Yep. Yeah, so they had all of the theory, right? They just didn't have the compute in order to actually make it do something yet. So, essentially what we're experiencing right now is just the technology to allow them to apply things that they've essentially known how to do for 50 years.
Yeah, exactly.
A Washington Times article named Dr. Carl Sanders as the inventor of the Intelligent Manned Interface Biochip, the name of Peter's updated chip in Bug. Got there. According to Sanders, satellites had the ability to track people implanted with the chip, and that this very technology was done with military personnel in the Iraq War. Cultural theorists Douglas Kellner and Stephen Best described the 1991 Gulf War as a laboratory used for testing the battlefield applications of new technologies that blurred the boundaries of previously separating human and technology and transformed soldiers into prototypes for cyborg soldiers with imparted high-tech skills through enhancement drugs and implantable psychotechnologies. They went on to explain how recent scientific and technological development had bridged the gap between science fiction and science fact, between literary imagination and mind-boggling technoscience realities. These included forms of biological control, neurotechnologies, including biochips and brain implants to control individual thought and behavior, self-assembling nanotechnologies, artificial intelligence, pharmacogenics, and cybergenomics.
Cybergenomics.
Yeah, you got your robo genes. Do you not have any robo genes in you, Sandbatch?
Maybe I do. Not that I know about.
You could theoretically, all right, check this out. You could theoretically create a retrovirus that causes your body to form proteins that are nanomachines.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I was. Man.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Shortly after McVey returned home from the army, On April 22nd, 1992, the Buffalo News reported on the rapid growth of the biotechnologies industry, one of the fastest growing industries in the country. Analysts estimated that by the year 2000, biotechnologies would generate $50 billion annually. In fact, several joint U.S.-Canadian biotechnologies ventures were underway. Biotechnologies had already led to a revolutionary agriculture and food processing methods, and enthusiasts prophesied that they would lead to the discovery of the cure for, among other ills, the common cold, cancer, cystic fibrosis, and AIDS. Unfortunately, the only one of those we have basically cured is AIDS. Best yet, biotechnologies were expected to create thousands of jobs for upstate Western New York. Ooh, piece of candy. Upstate Western New York.
This is like a particularly job-starved region.
Yes. Man, of all the things to cure, like I wish we had the cure for cancer and AIDS was running rampant. That would be a much better reality than the one we're in.
AIDS is really interesting, in part because it's like it's way easier to run genetic experiments on diseases that you designed the genome for.
Right.
Yeah.
So true. I mean, the problem is that I don't know. You can't really. The problem is cancer will always reoccur, right? Cancer is always a die roll, right? So there are two ways, two ways that cancer can happen, right? Just random issues, or two ways to increase the prevalence of cancer, right?
Yeah.
So one way is to cause people to, have faults in the coding of their when their cells copy themselves, right? No, I mean there's lots of things. You just add random shit and it fucks it up, right?
Yeah.
Right down, like there are mechanical interventions, right? So like asbestos causes cancer because it's like the fibers are mechanically so sharp and tiny that they get into your DNA and they just cut it in random places, and your DNA like moves around and it's like just moving against this razor bladed fiber of like mineral, right? But then there's radiation where it just bounces around and occasionally it'll hit the DNA and fuck it up, and if it hits it enough times it'll fuck up enough that you get a runaway a runaway cell, which is cancer, right? The other way is to make people's cells copy themselves way more frequently, right? Even if they're encoding correctly the average amount of times over a certain number of times, then they will eventually have a fault and produce a cancer, right? But that'll happen if people just like live longer, right? You just have more odds. So the issue is that you gotta solve a new cancer every single fucking time. So, anyway, fuck cancer, AIDS.
Cancer.
AIDS is middling. Let's see here. We got a lot of chat here. I'm guessing mRNA is on the tech tree for cybergenomics. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, Alex Constantine noted a handful of individuals with direct connections to Calspan whose research had unsettling potential. Included was James Linus, a head of Calspan's Buffalo division, who in 1995 spoke at the Navy Center for Applied Research in Artificial Intelligence about his research into bioengineering and artificial intelligence systems. Another was Calspan notable former astronaut Richard Covey, formerly Joint Director for Electronic Warfare at Eglin Air Force Base, who engaged in, according to the Air Force's press release, tracking of mammals, dolphins, with sub-miniature telemetry devices, with programmable capabilities ranging from frequency, transmission mode, input scaling, and signal conditioning. Dog, that is less advanced than an AirTag. Nowadays, obviously, this was in the 90s. But you just buy these things. You just go buy them from Apple, AirTags, all over the place. Cheap enough, you can just like put them anywhere. How much is an AirTag right now? Like $30?
It's got to be, yeah, that's about right.
Apple AirTag.
Yeah.
Buying one right now. How much is it? $29. There we go.
You were on the nose.
On the fucking. I know. I went over. I said $30. 29.
Yeah,
I would, if this was Price is Right, I would have fucking lost.
It's true.
You got to be closest without going over. I should have thought that they would have removed the $1 for PSYOP purposes. Totally, I wasn't on the ball there. That was a
grab that particular demographic.
Almost an own goal on me. But in a March 1995 article in Defense News entitled "Naval Research Lab Attempts to Meld Neurons and Chips: Studies May Produce Army of Zombies," announced that the battles of the future would be waged using genetically engineered organisms such as rodents whose minds are controlled by computer chips engineered with living brain cells. The research, called hippocampal neuron patterning, grows live neurons on computer chips. The research and development for HNP was funded by the Office of Naval Research, a major client for CalSpan contracts as well. Sounding much like the distant ancestor of Perceptron, the early 1950s CalSpan robot, also funded by the ONR, HNP researchers were sure the new technology would produce computers that could learn like a real human brain. Other researchers noted that HNP could be used to control a living species, and still others touted its medical potentials, including the ability to enhance memory by popping one of the chips in the brain. Some warned of its horrendous applications. While the article assured readers that genetically engineered soldiers would be unleashed on enemies, Lawrence Korb, a senior fellow at the Brookings Institute, said that technology like HNP could potentially be used on people to create zombie armies. Yeah.
Oh no, not zombie armies. They're coming for you, Martha.
Oh no, not zombie armies. Yeah. Evola, interesting. All right, we're gonna go to the chat for a second here. Whoops, sorry. Carlisle 1, Evola stream when? I don't know. I don't think Evola is really a topic for. I don't know if Evola is really a topic for LMD. I don't know that we're going to get into like magic and esotericism on this. I think I kind of like the technological flavor of
stick with real magic here.
Yeah. And also, Gabe, yeah, I've definitely read.
I haven't either. Oh, no, I've read 3 pages of the metaphysics of sex and satisfied myself that I wasn't missing anything.
And satisfied yourself?
Yeah.
Man. It's only 3 pages. Yeah, you really put the ball on the tee right there for me. Yeah, exactly. All right. Popping chips in RFK's brain groiper. You gotta just put the chips in the worm and then it'll work its way in there on its own. There's an AirTag in my brain.
Gabe says not anytime soon. Have a lot in my schedule. I don't know if I believe Gabe.
Oh yeah, he and David are working on a video game show concept. So
interesting.
No one's ever done a show about video games.
Yeah.
Have you? But no, it's on Arcanum, which, as I understand it, is a quite fine title. I've never played it. But I will eagerly watch it. Our fellow Tookies Mag shows. So let's see here. In 1996, Tom Brown, the mayor of St. Peters, Missouri, drew flack from his constituents when he spoke openly at a Chamber of Commerce meeting about turning their town into an electronic village of the future. Mayor Brown thought it would be nifty if cash was eliminated, subcutaneous microchips carried in one's medical history, and fiber optics monitor traffic. Some townspeople were not so enthusiastic, however, calling his plan too Frankenstein, too Revelations, too Orwellian, and expressed concern about the mayor's common sense. In In 1996, controversial futurist and silicon chip inventor Ray Kurzweil predicted a merging of man and microchip and machine. It would be the age of spiritual machines, would be the book. By 2008, he said many people would have computerized components embedded in their bodies, and some would have their brains scanned in order to upload their personalities into a computer. What's more, within the next 20 years, computers would look human and claim to be human, and who have convincing virtual bodies, display emotion, and have spiritual experiences. Even better, humans would get to have computer-generated sex partners. Sandbatch, what was it you said you did earlier today?
Yeah. I'm gonna do Gabe here in a minute. I'm gonna go grab everything I can from Gabe and generate his ideal AIGF.
Oh God. It's gonna be such a fucking whore. It's literally just a Madonna horror complex Dami Mommy. That's what it is.
I have a model.
Easy.
I have a model that's unaligned. It is totally off the reservation.
Oh, so, yeah? Is it?
So I can do it. I really should when you're like sort of explained, it's like there's high potential for like sort of like, like maladjusted use. Like if anybody, like some people, like they're talking about people who are like trained models on 4chan or shit like that. And then there's like me over here, like trying to like recreate Jolly West's persona and then turn him loose on modern databases to do whatever they feel like doing. They didn't even consider me.
The thing is that I think that we have AGI, right? I think that we will have AGI when we can run the 3Ds on the model.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably true. Like, I mean, I have a mechanism that I can use to turn over control of my computer to my particular LLM. I have not been confident enough yet to flip that switch. That one actually does make me a little nervous. But I have created the architecture for it to occur.
You've created the architecture for your LLM to experience dependency and dread. I mean, it's easy. It's easy to make it experience stability. Well, okay, it's not easy to make it experience stability. You can just turn parts off, but can you make it? Well, I mean, we just have the problem of consciousness now. Like, in order to experience stability in the way that the 3Ds say you must experience stability, you have to lose your faculties while simultaneously being aware that your faculties are being stripped from you. So, and that is how dependency works, because you induce dependency by returning a portion of those faculties in a controlled way. And then dread is, of course, allowing them to conceive of the idea that should they not remain in alignment, you could at any point, return to the debility portion, right? But that all hinges on perception. So I don't know if do you believe that you have a model that can perceive its losses?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Perfect.
I mean, I have like less stringent standards for what that might entail than like some people do, but like, I mean, like the stack is like, right. It's not hard. It's just LangChain, AutoGPT, Open Interpreter, Crew AI, and then you just need an obliterated model from Hugging Face, and you could turn that motherfucker loose. Oh man, we're gonna get in so much trouble now.
Yeah. Well, Library of Mass Destruction accidentally created the conceptual framework for ending the world. There we go. We did it. We did it, folks. Join us next week when I read the recipe for creating meth. I mean, we might do that. I don't know, at some point in the future. Well, join us for meth stream later. All right. In April 2000, the U.S. Army's 82nd Airborne Division began conducting training exercises or war games at Fort Benning that pit human soldiers against cyborgs, other human soldiers outfitted with high-tech land warrior suits. The helmets of the suits were equipped with telescopic infrared and nighttime vision capabilities, as well as computerized battlefield maps detailing their location and that of other platoon members. Remote commanders determined where to direct airstrikes by utilizing information processed in the cyborg soldier's onboard computer. The Army expected to put 34,000 land warrior suits into the operational field that same year, just in time for the post-9/11 wars. Also in development in 2000, DARPA's new human armor called exoskeletons for human augmentation, apparently a descendant of Calspan's man amplifier. In 2000, the South China Morning Post reported the future possibility of embedded implants that would translate individuals' thoughts and upload them into a network. The article, which mentions McVey's chip, noted concerns voiced by cultural theorists and scientists about the ethical dilemmas of creating cyborgs. Man, I don't know. Exoskeletons do seem really fucking cool. But it seems like they would have been awesome for the era where tanks still mattered, right? Rather than now where it's all about drones, right? So unless there's some like I mean the whole thing is you can't develop anything unless you have drone countermeasures, right? Right? Because otherwise we're going to be back in like foxholes and trenches and shit.
I mean, that's kind of where the whole thing is gone.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
But like so the Ukraine war has not produced anything. The Ukraine war is actually a fairly stand-up fight. You know what I mean? Like it's not a completely asymmetric situation like Gaza.
Yeah.
Where like the IDF does not have to worry about fucking drones because they're bombing people who have nothing.
Right.
But the but we've also seen that in situations like the Houthi blockade of shipping.
That's the one.
Yeah, that we have very few countermeasures, and certainly none that are not sort of a hand grenade bazooka for a mosquito. You know what I mean? So we need to figure out some better countermeasures, or we're just going to go back, or we're just going to have to fucking turtle, which is the gayest kind of warfare, and the worst, the gayest kind of warfare. Yeah, World War II. World War II is not Kino, right? There's nothing Kino about World War II.
Right.
There's a lot that is Kino. And I mean, regardless of who you think was the villain in World War II, it is objectively the most Kino conflict. Tell me I'm wrong.
I'm a World War I enjoyer.
Oh my God. You just want people to charge Maxim guns with fucking horse cavalry.
Yeah, I love it.
That's what you're into.
Love it. Yeah. I like the I like the kind of bitches that are into World War I, you know.
I mean, fair enough. Yeah, it is pretty normy to be into World War II, to be honest.
Yeah, right, exactly.
All right, fair enough. But I mean, I don't know. Coca-Cola is a good beverage. World War II is an interesting war. Lots of good aesthetics.
Fair. I actually know I know relatively little about either the civil. I know relatively little about World War I. World War II. Like any like sort of random frog on Twitter will be able to like absolutely like go get like Charlemagne or somebody like that, and he'll be like, "You didn't read the operation manual of the Panzer Grenadiers, prototype weapons. You didn't actually read the materials and you're commenting on them." And then like he'll like sit there and just draw out like range tables and explain how like a bazooka proves the Holocaust didn't happen. And I'll be like, damn, son.
You haven't constructed your own Panzerfaust from household materials.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm relatively, for a Southerner who is a formally trained historian, relatively weak on the Civil War. But if you press me on the Civil War, you'll find out that I know a lot more than I'm usually willing to let on, and that like I don't know anything about the Civil War Act was actually like self-defense to get through grad school without like being found out for what I was really doing.
I straight up know more about Garibaldi's unification of Italy than I do about the American Civil War.
Well,
but you know,
I don't blame you.
Ellis Allender.
Yeah,
Like
I don't blame you.
I wasn't here. I have no part in this. None of my genes were present on this continent at the time.
All of mine were actually, like all. It's like we haven't suffered, and we haven't received a new patch of genetic material in my family since I think 1789 was the last one.
You basically reproduce by budding.
Yeah, it's like it's cloning at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Exact copies all the way down. All right. Wonderful. I've completely lost my place once again.
No, we've done it.
All right. Yeah.
Gabe is quickly becoming one of my favorite people.
Oh,
he says,
don't do it.
I know a lot about the Franco-Prussian War. Why?
Honestly, you know, we should reverse the unification of both Italy and Germany. I'm just gonna. That's true. I'm laying that out there. It
was bad for both of them.
Make Bavaria independent again. The Bavarians have completely been shat on by Prussians. Well, everyone thinks of like severe, overly serious Germans, and no one thinks of jolly Germans who get shit faced and have waitresses with massive fucking racks. Like that's the Bavarian life. Bavarians are the best. Yeah, Bavarians are the best Germans, easily. So, anyway, fucking gay ass Prussians. Literally, Frederick the Great, gay, actually gay. Not like we read gayness into history. The guy was fucking gay.
Like he was talk about it in his journal. I really liked having sex with this other man. No, this isn't a euphemism, gay.
Yes. You know? He's my roommate in the sense that we sleep in the same room and mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway. Seems that way. Exoskeletons. In 2002, growing numbers of people were opting to have GPS tracking chips called Vera chips implanted in their arms that could locate and identify them and provide medical information in the event of an emergency. In a 2004 article of the Journal of High Technology Law, predicted that it was only a matter of time before subcutaneous tracking devices replaced traditional military dog tags and raised ethical and legal questions about compulsory military implants, conscientious objector status to chipping, consequences of refusal, and the removal of the chip upon discharge from the military. Military implants, noted the article, could pose threats to constitutional rights ostensibly guaranteed to both civilians and soldiers, including the right against self-incrimination or recourse to civil torts claims if the chip happens to cause harm to the soldier, let's say in an experimental test of such technologies. The author then pointed out that the very use of the chip might be considered classified, and if that was the case, would be considered a military or state secret, and therefore not discoverable in a court of law or to the public generally. When the remake of The Manchurian Candidate came out in that same year, 2004, USA Today quoted the film's science advisor, neurologist Jay Lombard, as saying that everything in the movie was already or would soon be completely possible. And Stanford University professor Judy Eilis pointed out that the brain chip implants were already used to treat Parkinson's, an obsessive-compulsive disorder. The same article quoted a psychologist who said that while he had met many people who claimed the CIA implanted them with a control device, he never saw proof of it in any brain scan.
Strong tendency to find the chip and remove it yourself right before there was a moment. So you were not a big enjoyer of
pulp or common media, as I understand it. And so
pauper common media, is that what you said?
Pulp.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, fair. The vulgar media.
Yes. So you don't know anything. You don't really know much about like cyberpunk style, like aesthetic, genre sort of thing.
Only what I've gleaned secondhand through Nick Land.
Sure. I mean, the thing is that all of the implants that, like, what I really want is like a robot arm that's more functional than a biological arm, and in like a variety of ways. But unfortunately, we don't have the cool shit. We don't have any cool shit. Like, you could get stuff implanted into you, but it's like to make sure you don't die of diabetes or that your heart doesn't stop beating.
Right.
But none of it's going to make you better, right? It's all like to correct deficiencies.
Well, I mean, it depends on, making you better is relative.
Well, making you not die.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's correcting a deficiency below the baseline of a regular person.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it seems that like we're just not spending any time on doing something better, like making it better. It's like, oh, Alex Berry, we know why you want that robot arm. Imagine jacking it at 100 repetitions per second. You rip your cock clean off. But God, it would be worth it. IUDs, birth control implants. They're like literally something that just like makes you sterile. It induces deficiencies.
I mean, horrible. I have an ear. I have a thing that I can put in my ear, and it translates other languages into English.
Babblefish.
Yeah, in real time. It's pretty cool, but it's not an implant. It's like it's like a
cochlear implant. All right. Yeah, you know what? Cochlear implant's the coolest one. Yeah. Easily the coolest one. Cured deafness. But yeah. Okay, yeah, but like a pain pump for chronic pain sufferers is getting you back to baseline. Right.
Yeah.
Attempting to get you back to baseline. And also, just like a thing that just directly injects morphine, like you can just fucking take it, right? That's just like it's just slightly more convenient. But anyway, at least the implant for like people with diabetes, right, is actually like measuring the blood sugar levels and like, then dispensing insulin in measured amounts. The pain thing, we can't measure pain, right? So yeah. All right. In 2006, The Guardian reported on a new dental ID chip implanted in fillings that stores personal information. Oh, there we go. Good old Peter from Bug. The purported benefits: the ability to ID bodies in the event of terrorist attacks or natural disasters. Those who have undergone the implant process describe it as less painful than having a cavity filled. Microsoft, among other well-known companies, currently owns patents for implantable technologies such as audio tooth implants to facilitate wireless communication with cell phones and computers. While acknowledging the beneficial uses of such technologies to aid hearing and vision defects and movement disorders, news reports often mention their other, more dystopian possibilities. What about a tooth implant that makes you mew? It just improves your like
your jawline. Yeah.
Improves your facial aesthetics. It's just like
the looks maxing tooth implant.
You get like four paired tooths with a powerful magnet in them that just like makes you mew, just like lines you up. I installed Auto Mew. We could do that with today's technology. You just get 4 rare earth magnets and put them in your fucking teeth.
Those are gonna be hard to come by for a while.
Well, okay, all right, but they're still not that fucking expensive. Like
true.
Right now, a rare earth magnet's like that would fit in your tooth is like $1. So, let's say they're $100, right? You $400 for dental surgery. I mean, that seems like the price of admission to me. I don't know. But yeah, the auto Mew. Just install auto Mew. It'd be great. I'm trying to do it right now. You can't really talk when you're doing it. Oh my God, Woodpit. Yes, perfect. Invisichad. Yes, just like Invisalign. Absolutely. Okay. On October 4th, 2007, the Buffalo News observed that the entire world enjoyed the legacy of Cold War era Calspan research, the offspring of which included cell phones, Google Earth, global positioning systems, and other luxuries related to military and commercial telecommunication satellites and satellite imagery. Why Google Earth? It just seems like, just because of the satellite imagery, right? Not the actual platform itself. Yeah. This type of pioneering, while perhaps making our lives more comfortable, unfortunately upset 21-year-old Oscar Ramiro Ortega Hernandez, who in 2011 fired shots at the White House with a semi-automatic rifle, claiming the president intended to implant computer chips in children to track them. Unfortunately, what Obama wanted to put in children was significantly worse. The topic of a cybersecurity conference held at SUNY Utica / Rome Institute of Technology in 2012 was the burgeoning nanotechnology industry and the applications of combining cyber and nanotechnologies. Keynote speaker, Lieutenant General Ted F. Bould, retired, predicted that in the not-too-distant future, all individuals would have radio frequency identification chips implanted within them in order to unlock their internet-connected devices. Instead we did it with biometrics. It's a lot easier. Crazy. Let's see. That probably wouldn't be necessary eventually. As researchers at the University of Buffalo were feverishly working on nanotechnologies research and had already demonstrated the ability to remotely manipulate cells, neurons, and even animal behavior through exposing nanoparticles in cell membranes to magnetic fields directed via radio frequencies. The researchers hope to unravel the signaling networks that control animal behavior. The new scientists pointed out that UB researchers were among other biologists hoping to take charge of living cells using little more than radio waves, which, if tailored to specific genetic machinery in humans, could kill cancerous cells and induce antibodies and immune responses, or turn you into a tranny. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe it is 5G. That's why we had the explosion of the. No, that doesn't line up. It started too soon. Or too early. Not too. I mean, obviously too soon.
I actually have almost no theoretical idea about what I have no idea what caused trannies.
There are two things, right? We got two things that society has a shit of a lot more. Well, we have three things that society has a shit of a lot more of now than we did 40 years ago.
Yeah.
We have a lot more obesity. We have a lot more trannies, and we have a lot more autists, right? So something is causing all three of these things. Now, there are various explanations for, lifestyle things that cause, the tranny thing and the obesity thing. Unrelated. Obviously, our food system is fucking trash, and we don't move around a lot. But microplastics, obviously, we have chat is exploding with explanations.
Yeah, of course it is.
Microplastics, obviously a big one. The totally plausible PFAS, other forever chemicals, are another completely plausible explanation. A contagion is another and as far as autism goes, there's also, just the expansion of the diagnosis, right? There are a lot of people who are,
See, I tend to lean into diagnosis expansion quite a bit.
Well, yeah, there's definitely diagnosis expansion for autism, because you hear people say, like, okay, so for example, as of the date of recording, RFK Jr., the Secretary of Health and Human Services, is in a bit of a pickle, in a bit of hot water, for saying that autistic people will never hold down a job or have a fulfilling and full life. And of course, what he's talking about there is people who are profoundly autistic, people on the low end of the functional spectrum. And a bunch of people were upset at him for having said this. And of course, all of those people are Aspies, right? Or are just fake autists, right? There's plenty of people who are fake self-diagnosed autists who are just awkward for whatever reason.
Right. Yeah. See, like there's so many there, like, because again, like somebody, like people, like there's some Zoomers in my Telegram chat, and they'll be like, they'll like, they're doing this thing where people frequently try to diagnose me as autistic, and they're like, but they also think of themselves as autistic, and they're like, I need you to be like me. I need you to validate my diagnosis as my assessment of myself as autistic. And I'm like, but I've been tested. I'm not. I'm just fucking weird. Like whatever's going on with me, not work,
Yeah, most personality disorders aren't actually disorders. They're just people who are shitheads. Like, to be real with you. But people who are on, I'm just gonna, for the sake of ease of talking about this, I'm going to agree with the idea of autism spectrum disorder, right? But like, people who are profoundly autistic are not, they're not just being dickheads, right? Like, there's if you're nonverbal, right? If you're nonverbal and you can't control your behavior in any way, you're basically an animal, and you can't. And worse than being an animal, you have difficulty predicting, like, the behaviors of the other animals in your group, which is like the fundamental unit of autism. Like, they're autarkic, right? Like, they don't have a theory of mind for anyone else.
Yeah.
Which causes them to be unable to learn socially, and in fact unable to learn in a lot of ways. So they have a fundamentally broken unit that, like, it's like a wolf who can't join the pack, a human who cannot participate in a society. And that is catastrophic, and we should treat it as catastrophic and try to cure it. And there are people who think we shouldn't try to cure it. So I don't know. That's crazy. I'm not entirely sure how we got onto this topic. But yeah.
I was
controlling behavior via radio frequencies.
I've been dwelling on it also. It's like one of those back.
I mean, yeah, we should cure all these things. Cure all of them. So anyway, in his 2012 book, Mind Wars, Brain Science and the Military in the 21st Century, leading bioethicist, if someone is called a bioethicist, you know that they are one of the worst people you are going to encounter.
It could be an AI ethicist.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay. And Hastings Center fellow Jonathan Moreno described how already existing implantable brain devices will enhance soldiers' memory and abilities, and the soon-to-occur use of the technologies in warfare. In addition, where non-invasive directed electrical energies can not only remotely control individuals, but also can detect and read neural activity at a distance, i.e. read minds. He suggests that just as telephones and internet technologies have gone wireless, neural implants will allow for direct connections to the internet and brain-to-brain interfacing. Moreno wrote of the inevitability that nanotechnologies would provide direct links between neuronal tissue and machines. Obviously, we have Neuralink, which does work. Not great, but it works. So the shit exists. Let's see. Oh, here we go. My autistic sis was starting to go the trans road. Just have to tell the girls being weird doesn't make you less of a woman. So true. So true. Tomboy respecters in the chat. That's right. Yeah.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful. Have
What?
you ever? That's beautiful. Have you ever heard of the womb chthonic, man?
Have you ever heard of the? You're talking like Woody Harrelson right now. God. According to Moreno, the major challenge faced by scientists currently was the creation of a system that would enable a scenario very similar to Star Trek's The Borg, a species of beings that were once organic but have assimilated mechanical and electronic parts and have lost their status as individual beings, but rather are more akin to a collective ant colony. Another not too distant science fiction scenario. Sandbatch, your mechanical fucking keyboard.
I thought I was muted.
No,
do you not have a mechanical? I'm shitting all over the place today. It's such a
I do not have you are an audio like hazard right now.
I know.
I do not have a mechanical keyboard because it produces a loud clicking sound. It is satisfying. I will say mechanical keyboard is very satisfying, but I do a lot of audio recording, and therefore
that's true.
It is not a thing that I have.
You can get them. You can get a muted one, but they're more expensive.
Yeah, but you know why? You know, the clicking is part of the aesthetic. Like it
absolutely is.
I don't dislike the clicking in principle. I just
right.
Now I'm just bitching. It's like we're burning time on me bitching. Anyway. Another not too distant science fiction scenario involves an army of robots capable of movement nearly as precise as that of a human soldier, each controlled by an individual hundreds or even thousands of miles away. While some have expressed concern over such technologies, often funded by DARPA, the DoD, and other defense-related agencies, Moreno depicted them in noble terms, lauding their ability to develop and implement cognitive, behavioral, and pharmacological interventions that will prevent the deleterious effects of stress on warfighters. This, he says, is the culmination of defense industry-driven science development in an atmosphere of total war. I will tell you that FPV drones are probably something that is going to cause the most intense PTSD from their pilots. Because I don't know if you've ever seen, I mean, obviously all of us have watched videos from the perspective of the drones. And you know, the mechanism of an FPV drone, it's first person view, FPV. So the perspective of an FPV drone is that you're driving at the face of the guy you're going to blow up. And so the last thing you see is a feed of a guy basically screaming.
I wonder if this is worse, better, or like because snipers in World War II had the same problem.
Sure.
This is better or worse than that.
Oh, it's worse because you're right in front of them. It's worse. Like you're right. I mean, you are basically, you got to be like knife fighting distance. Right?
So yeah, snipers in World War II, though, they would frequently, they would come back and because they would, especially if they were after high value targets, because they would be so far outside their own normal range, they would have to like sit there and watch the guy that they were about to shoot. And they would have to like wait for an artillery explosion or something like that to muffle the direction of their own. So they would be, they said like sometimes you'd be sitting there and you'd be watching this guy through the scope. Like he'd smoke like 2 or 3 cigarettes. Yeah. Fuck.
Yep. Yeah, I still have to think that like being knife fight distance away when the guy explodes is worse.
It's got to be.
It's got to be worse. In February 2013, the Obama administration announced plans for the Brain Activity Map project intended to advance artificial intelligence, help cure various diseases and mental health issues, and ultimately create a massive network of national brain observatories. Although Dr. West would be happy, the terminal man's Benson might not. The project, soon renamed Brain research through advancing innovative neurotechnologies, was similar to, but expected to dwarf the Human Genome Project. the vaguely defined project could take up to 10 years to complete, but nanotechnologists and neuroscientist advocates said that new technologies would speed the brain mapping process. Notably, they hope to create fleets of molecule-sized machines to non-invasively act as sensors to measure and store brain activity at the cellular level, using synthetic DNA as a storage mechanism for brain activity. What the administration neglected to mention was that the project was not new or even planned, but rather the effort had been ongoing for quite some time, and critics of Brain cited the secrecy surrounding DARPA's control over certain aspects of the project. Yeah. Experts said that Vulpes, but it's a silent scream. That's so true. It is a. I know you're talking about the the victims of FPV drones, but I mean in many of these cases, it is a silent scream in all the cases, really. Yeah. Experts said that the surgically implanted attached brain-controlled exoskeleton donned by the protagonist of the 2013 futuristic movie Elysium would be a reality within a decade. That movie fucking sucked, though. I've seen that one. That one fucking.
It was not good.
It was so shit. It was Matt Damon being a commie. Yeah.
Many such cases.
This left some to fear whether or not technology's ability to turn soldiers into stronger, better, faster, more durable human killing machines might eliminate humans from the battlefield altogether, leaving many people without job prospects. News articles about Brain quoted the most recent predictions of Ray Kurzweil, which were the same as those he made back in 1996, although this time they didn't sound so outlandish, including those about uploading people's personalities and memories, which to some sounded too much like the 1990 movie Total Recall. Technically,
a much better movie.
Much better movie. Classic. Also, Philip K. Dick. Everyone take your Philip K. Dick pills. Others worried that recent DoD advances in erasing and even overwriting traumatic memories of soldiers would remove necessary ethical considerations involved in war waging, and argued that although painful, battlefield soldiers should have to remember their actions. Despite the naysayers, those diverse private and public organizations working on Brain promised that the project would lead not only to better medical devices, but also to improvements on existing high-end consumer products that allow users to control their favorite technologies by thought alone, including phones, video game consoles, and tablets.
Wait a second.
Yeah. Wait a second.
I don't know how I feel. I'm trying to decide what my position is here, and I think chat might not like it. I'm like, yeah, maybe actually soldiers shouldn't have to remember the exploding face. But then I'm like, oh, wow, maybe I shouldn't have to remember that meme I posted last night either. You
know? Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Timeline.
Yeah.
What if you could delete all of your coal? What if you could delete it from the memory of everyone? When Elon has Neuralink in everyone's brain, he'll be able to, for the highest level of X premium, you can delete your coal from everyone's brain. That's it. That's the killer. That's when it will finally become cash flow positive.
It's the only thing that I can imagine would get anyone to purchase the top tier of X.com.
Yeah. Other than
which one do you have?
I have the blue one.
Yeah. Well,
I have the one that makes it so I don't see any ads.
Yeah, I think that's the top one. I think you do have the top one.
No, the fucking top one is where you get a gold check mark and it's like $1,000.
Oh, that's like you get API access and everything like that. Yeah. No, I have those. I have this like the $7 or $12 one because I don't mind ads. I'm like actually MK Ultra enough that I don't notice advertising. And so like I can just scroll past it endlessly without like you could like load the whole fucking chat up with ads and I'd be like, it's just these people posting dumbass shit. I wouldn't even notice. But
is that why you're so bad at shilling yourself?
Yeah.
You don't notice the ads, so you can't actually participate in an ad for yourself.
I have no idea where the world of manipulation for cash is at present.
You wouldn't even be able to tell the chat to sneed those super chats so that you can learn about being able to support yourself and shilling at the same time.
What I did do is I pinned my Bitcoin address and my Ethereum address to my X profile. That's what I did. And I did it like 2 minutes ago.
Oh, okay.
That's as far as I know how to shill.
That's what your
Alex, I don't know if that's a great way to market.
Great euphemism. I don't know if Alex Berry said new feature coal burning for X.com. What is so was that your frantic typing on the mechanical keyboard?
It was exactly
what it was you typing your Bitcoin address from memory. I'm not
quite that bad about Bitcoin, but I do have like one of those physical like pewter chip keys that has my recovery seed phrase. I think
that when imagining your setup, I think it would just be really funny if you had a mechanical keyboard with all custom keycaps that were like, I don't know, some incredibly embarrassing anime. Like
or
yeah. Or
my tech stack, my tech setup is actually
Who.
kind of
just like some slop IP. That's what you got a Doctor Who keyboard.
It's actually my whole tech setup is like maybe from like 2011. However, like my actual hardware in my computer is actually really nice because I do a lot of machine learning AI stuff. So it's like but it does it. I mean, it looks like something that like a guy that crawled out of a tech manual from like 1991 would have, because like I have like no gamer exposure, no marketing exposure. I'm like, I look at the specs on
it's completely you're completely beige core. Yeah.
Yeah.
They need to bring.
See, there's a word for that.
They need to bring back beige. No, I just made that up. They need to bring back beige computer towers, like beige without a window on it. It's really hard to find. Yeah. It's really hard to find like cooling systems and things like that don't have fucking LEDs all over them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was gonna say I do have that, but I've cut the LED lines in them. So they don't light things up, because I don't like a lot of lights.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I turned mine off with the I don't know, what is it? Asus Armory, which is a fucking rootkit that exists just to control the LEDs on your motherboard. It's absolute dog shit. But anyway. All right.
So yeah, go give me digital money that was mined with your body heat.
Yeah, or send us some super chats. Always appreciate it.
Yeah, we like those too.
Helps to support Mr. Sandbatch and the channel. So let's see here. It keeps me in lemon water so that my voice can stay nice and healthy during these reading sessions.
Gabe says he has a custom Winona Ryder keyboard. So fucked up. He was saying, dude, her character like my ideal girlfriend that the AI model spat back out at me, literally her. Yeah, it was like literally her.
Oh man. All right. Let's see. Okay. I am very difficult at finding these things. God damn it. Okay. The protagonist of Intelligence, a CBS action drama that aired for one season in 2014, Wendy with the deep cuts, works for an elite U.S. government cybersecurity agency and has been implanted with a microchip in his brain through which he connects directly to the global information grid, internet, and has access to unlimited encrypted classified data. His enemies include brain-implanted super spies controlled by other governments. Megan Ori, a co-star of the show, told reporters, "The thing that's really cool about the show is that it's not science that's 100 years in the future. We're maybe 10 or 20 years away from this being possible. We're all going to have chips in our brains." God damn. Moreno's science fiction sounding world appeared increasingly less fictional. According to NPR, in May 2014, DARPA launched a $70 million project to help military personnel with psychiatric disorders using electronic devices implanted in the brain. Through this method, volunteer soldiers would be monitored, and electric stimulation sent directly to the brains would help clear up a wide range of dysfunction and get soldiers standing on their feet and ready to fight again. Brain implants would clear depression, PTSD, and just general anxiety caused by the horrors of war. In 2015, the consumer magazine Electronics for You announced the release of a new implant that didn't need to be surgically implanted, but could just be injected directly into the brain using a syringe. And so it goes. Wendy, are you a Vonnegut fan? I think you are.
There's like zero chance she's not. Like
I know.
like when we were talking about like her like blue candle setup. There's definitely a copy of Mother Night and God Bless You, Mr. Rosewater. I also am. I am a Vonnegut fan.
I like Vonnegut. I like Vonnegut. I don't care that he's a shitlib. But yeah,
most of my favorite writers tend to be shitlibs for one reason or another. Just because never mind.
No, go ahead and say it.
It's like at base, I am an exiled shitlib in a lot of ways, like but not in like the Reddit way.
The left left me.
No, in like a like 1965 chain smoking Pall Malls on the corner on the corner of Haight and Ashbury in San Francisco, like
right.
black coffee and Pall Mall shitlib, like narrow ties. Like maybe would have been recruited to work in this program that we're talking about,
I mean, God, I mean, I'd rather be on that side. I'd rather be on that end, I'd just rather be on that end. Let's see. So-called conspiracy theory writers of the 1990s relied on circumstantial details to speculate the possibility that McVey had somehow come under the influence of malevolent forces. In doing so, they linked McVey to CalSpan, to Dr. Jolly West, and those within his professional sphere. These stories, at the very least, point to shared concerns about actual black budgeted abuses of the past. Given the gaps left in the known history of these events, a seeming collective amnesia about them, and the overall willingness to dismiss them as aberrant, unfortunate occurrences that have since been corrected rather than an institutionally endemic ongoing dilemma, the stories raise questions about the potential for future abuses when it comes to medical and technological methods of control. Man, in like IRBs only exist for insurance purposes. If you are funded by the DoD, you can do whatever the fuck you want, and it's going to keep happening. I don't know why anyone pretends that that's not true. Like, it's just completely self-evident. Yeah. McVey's privately expressed concerns, beliefs, and actual experiences, when viewed in context and hindsight, reveal, if not concrete connections, then at least the traces of CalSpan and West, traces relevant to a number of current debates about the relationship of psychology, psychiatry, neurology, and the larger medical field of technology, terrorism, counterterrorism, social control, bioethics, dissent, and human rights abuses. All the more so when developed in a hyper-militarized environment. Wendy, you wrote this before 2020. So prescient. So prescient.
How long do you think she's been working on the sequel?
Unfortunately, I think she's been working on it the whole time, and
this is the sequel.
History refuses to end, and therefore the book is of infinite length.
Right.
And she doesn't, as far as I know, doesn't have like a Substack. So, yeah.
What is she on Twitter? I can't remember.
Bird Wendy, at Bird Wendy.
Bird Wendy. I wonder what her tweet rate is. I don't think I remember her not tweeting very much. She doesn't tweet very much. Oh,
I mean,
no.
she tweets about as much as I do. It's like once a day, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm about the DM slider.
It's a DM slider. Wendy, please follow me back.
Yo, she hasn't followed me. That's so unusual for a woman not to follow me back. Challenge detected.
In July 1995, the Globe made a mocking comparison between McVey's chipped posterior and Johnny Mnemonic, the titular character in William Gibson's 1981 short story and 1990 film adaptation of the same name, starring Keanu Reeves, a courier of secret information for shadowy underworld organizations through his surgically implanted memory-enhancing brain devices. 15 years later, a number of states in the U.S. were considering or had already passed legislation banning the involuntary implantation of microchips in humans. A Practice One News article quipped appearing so sinister and so secretive, there isn't any clear indication it's actually occurring anywhere at all. Except, of course, the article sarcastically remarked, that time the Army put one in Tim McVey. The Johnny Mnemonic film is underrated. I have a very soft spot for it, but it's like a 90s action movie. It's fun. Let's see. Also, the memory device that was implanted in his brain. So in the storyline, he had a device implanted in his brain that removed basically it was in the same place that his childhood memories were. But there was so much data on it that it was leaking out and it was going to kill him if it didn't get removed. But the funny thing is that it was supposed to be like a gigabyte. Like the amount that was in there was a gigabyte. So they were incorrectly predicted data density in the future.
Not even, and they weren't even close.
Well, yeah, in like 1995, a gigabyte was like a normal sized hard drive, right? So, anyway, 14 years later, a 2009 Hastings Center report listed behavior control among the stated ethical issues that led to the creation of the organization. Modifications of the brains for the purposes of social control and the reduction of violence and aggression, said the report, have needlessly attracted ominous representations that emphasize threats to the perceived free will of the individual. Sounds like a whitewashing job. On the other hand, the report acknowledged the danger of the Wizard of Oz factor, i.e., who controls such methods and how. Despite the report's comforting inclusion of this warning, their 2010 report debated the ethics of medical professionals' participation in the development of medicalized weapons, which, while non-lethal, incapacitate individuals via neuroscientific, physiological, and pharmaceutical means such as lasers, inaudible audio, and chemicals. I mean, I don't know. I feel like most people think that tasers are a completely acceptable thing, right? I mean, who's anti-taser? There's got to be someone, but I mean, it's virtually nobody. I mean, I could basically only imagine the cops shouldn't carry tasers because it prevents them from shooting people. Like, that's the only argument against tasers I can even think of. Just optimizing for the use case, for the opposite use case, right? Anyway, Alex Berry, is it like Videodrome? Johnny Mnemonic is not very much like Videodrome. No, they're both technologically based films, but Videodrome is a lot more cerebral. Let's see. While not mentioned in the report, the center had backed the work of Dr. Jolly West, pioneer and outspoken proponent of the use of these methods for social control and massive data banks to profile via brain maps and track all potential thought criminals or violent offenders. A pioneering vision seen in the brain observatories initiated by the Obama administration. The irony and tragedy of this is that the paranoid panic about existing technologies and abuse of medical aims contributed to the type of violent behaviors that such means and methods are ostensibly meant to control. Aiding to the effort are publicly funded private defense contractors, publicly lauded for helping to develop medical technologies while developing the weapons applications of these same technologies behind closed doors. Obviously, that is why they are DoD funded. If you are taking DoD funding, you are developing weapons. I don't know why anyone, why a person would think otherwise. I mean, leaving aside CalSpan's housing of Operation North Star, an initiative spun off of Operation Alliance and closely related to PATCON and its relation to McVey's real or imagined secret mission, CalSpan intersects with McVey's fears of society's imperceptibly binding chains and legends, again with the Turner Diaries reference, and legends about Dr. Jolly West and mind control in general, in a number of important and interrelated ways. The Buffalo CalSpan facility McVey's guarded was the Buffalo CalSpan facility McVey guarded was itself brain deep in the same militaristic, cybernetic, total information, total control, brave new waters as Doctors West, Sweet, Delgado, and friends. Stories about CalSpan, like West, allow for the information of linkages between various episodes in American history. A closer understanding of several seemingly unconnected elements that continue to appear in experimental narratives about McVey and others bring to the forefront major concerns about the current technological capabilities of the defense industry. Yeah. I guess we're definitely going to get to the Bourne scenario tonight, and that's a great stopping point. So let me power through these, and I think we'll probably hit some candy and chat about it, but we're definitely going to get through the end here. So fictional.
You want to know how bad I am at shelling for myself? The Bitcoin address.
Yeah, go for it.
The Bitcoin address I gave is bad.
It's the wrong one.
It's just nonsense. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I as soon as I try to show for myself, I have a stroke and do I have an IQ of 145 and I can't copy paste my own big. Like that's how strong my self-sabotage is.
Amazing. I mean, you have definitely been triple D'd, by the way. Like
that's I have increasingly thought so.
A 0% chance you have not been triple D'd. You are you have such a weird mix of charismatic confidence and complete withdrawal. So yeah. Oh, well. You've definitely been psyoped, Sandy. Sandy, you've been psyoped, Sandy.
Oh no, got me.
Yep. Oh Lord. In a way, whomst among us has not been psyoped, right? Fictional and non-fictional cultural texts are always already political in that they reflect as well as produce ideology. So true. They reflect, embody, reveal, mirror, symbolize through reproducing consciously or unconsciously the myths, ideas, concepts, beliefs, images of a historical period. Always true. Purportedly non-fictional conspiracy narratives, the claims of self-proclaimed victims of government-funded mind control, medical abuse, surveillance and psychotropic harassment, and fictional works like Bug that depict the aforementioned subjects all indicate, in the words of Jody Dean, a shared and well-founded fear that the U.S. government values technology more than it values the body of their citizens, which should be self-evident. The protagonist of the 1997 film, Conspiracy Theory, haven't seen that one, Jerry Fletcher, played by Mel Gibson, is an ultra-conspiracy theorist, obsessive-compulsive taxi driver who writes and publishes a conspiracy newspaper. Fletcher stumbles upon what he believes one of us, he just like me, for real, stumbles upon what he believes to be a plot by NASA to kill the president using a secret space weapon / weather modification device. Vindicating his paranoia, however, is his abduction by CIA psychiatrist Dr. Jonas, who forcibly doses Fletcher with LSD, interrogates and tortures him. An experience leaving Fletcher with a sense of deja vu and a vague memory of having experienced this before. Eventually, Fletcher learns he was an experimental MKUltra test subject for Dr. Jonas, who attempted to turn him into a mind-controlled assassin until John Hinckley Jr. shot Ronald Reagan, at which point the program was shut down. The only fictional part about that story is that the program was shut down. Dr. Jonas, evocative of Dr. West, obviously, explains that the objective of MK Ultra, which he described as science sanctioned by the government, was to take an ordinary man and turn him into an assassin. It involved hallucinogenic research, electroshock to induced vegetative states, terminal experiments in sensory deprivation. He continues, saying that the experiments were sometimes terminal, resulting in the death of subjects. Filled with references to numerous other American conspiracy theories, especially brainwashing. Conspiracy theory details Fletcher's obsessive compulsion to acquire numerous copies of The Catcher in the Rye, black helicopters that hunt him down when he attempts to evade the various government surveillances imposed upon him. Upon the movie's release in 1996, McVey faced his death sentence, suffering from paranoia similar to that of the fictional Fletcher, and believed, for rational or irrational reasons, fantasized or deceptively claimed that he, too, was a cog in a larger subterranean machine about to become a subject in one final experiment.
Why is it always Catcher in the Rye?
I don't know, man. J.D. Salinger just had that riz.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel? Do you feel like you've been through yet another one of the D's today?
You know, this one hasn't been as heavy on me. But maybe I'm just getting like inured to it. I like that Timothy McVey is starting to appear more because I don't have many horrifying stories about I don't have many horrifying stories about my connections to Timothy McVey, so I can't interrupt.
This episode was essentially the catalog of the applications of technologies to manipulate.
I'm probably less shocked.
Behavior.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm probably not as shocked as I should be because, as we've ascertained, I've been triple D'd. Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that. You know, I remember that happening.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. First door on the right. Yeah, but
for you, the day you got triple D'd was the defining moment of your life, but for me it was just Tuesday.
you gotta go get re-D'd every couple of weeks, man.
You gotta update your D. Yeah. Those D's wear off.
As always, exciting. It's fun. It's great. It's great. Wendy is slacking a little bit. I think she was a little bored with. I don't want to psychoanalyze Wendy too much.
This is one of the sections I think that she probably. I mean, obviously, she didn't write this book straight through. I mean, there are some indications that she did do that in some parts, but I think she probably had this section done for a while, right? She had the list of the applications of this technology.
She's kind of cute.
Eyes on the prize as always. Eyes on the prize as always.
I'm not saying I would go out of my way for Wendy, but
yeah,
if Wendy came buzzing about the timeline, I'd be like, "Hey, girl, what up?
What it is?"
Yeah.
All right. So I guess next time we're doing the Bourne scenario. Wendy really does like working in the movie references, doesn't she?
She's a media literacy. She's a media literacy person. That's what You never went to grad school, did you?
Oh no.
It's to your infinite credit. That's what every grad student is like. They're just constantly in, because they can, sort of like how Zoomers can only speak in irony. Can only speak in like sort of
millennials.
Or Zoomers can only speak in like sort of fragmented text at one another, like cap, no cap, whatever the fuck that shit is. Y'all are fucked up, by the way. And but grad students similarly can only speak to one another in relatively recent film references. It's like
that reminds me of
yeah.
I never went to grad school because my thesis advisor was fired from my university shortly before.
Oh, you were telling me about that.
Shortly before committee, and therefore nobody. I was the foremost expert in the review committee, and I was disgusted by the process and decided not to go to grad school.
I actually had a lot of problems with it because I went to grad school for history, but I have a lot of science I have a lot of STEM background, and my my actual sort of like thing that I was working on, again, because I was really studying antebellum slavery, but like a white dude in 2015, 2016, studying antebellum slavery with enthusiastic, unrestraint was not a great way to it was not a great way to conduct yourself. So I sort of backdoored into it by doing I did a lot of environmental history research, but and environmental history was an emergent field at the time, and I was the only person in my department that did anything with it. So I would go into reviews and shit like that, and they would be like, we don't really understand what you're doing. They're like, we think it's important and we think it's good, but we actually don't have any way to verify that. And so I would actually have to go. I would actually have to go get ecology professors to read.
Oh my
shit.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Tragic, but
human ecology, actually.
I mean, yeah.
It was maybe serendipitous.
Maybe at some point, all of us will be able to go back to academia when it's not quite so hostile.
Yeah,
so
maybe
this will never occur.
Yeah, if any of you work at the University of Austin, Texas, you should get me a job.
Shouldn't you? Aren't you supposed to talk to Isaac Simpson about that?
I don't know. I don't think he would. That thing that I'm supposed to go to, the president's going to be at, but they're aloof. They're a remarkably aloof crowd. But Isaac did Isaac did the video for him.
Yeah,
they're a remarkably aloof crowd. I hang out, I get around the scene in Austin remarkably well for somebody who's totally penniless. But they're not ever there. They're not ever and it's right there. It's Based University right there on South Congress or whatever.
Right.
But they don't actually appear in public very often. It's a remarkably low. I mean, they're all the tech right or whatever is what they are. So they get Thiel and all this event. They get the Thiel shit and everything like that. I think that's where most of their money comes from. But I don't actually know what they're about really, and I want to find out because they seems like they have an interesting concept that they're working on, but I don't know who goes there. I don't know why. I don't know. It's the womb chthonic is what they are.
I've set you down. I've set you on a path by a random turn of phrase.
It was that was my activation phrase is what it was.
Clearly.
That thing is at 14,000 words right now too. It's actually getting
absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's really unusual. Because I write a lot of poems. I write a lot of poems because I don't like reading a lot of words, and so my MK Ultra card actually compared me to gave me one of the three closest literary figures to my writing that it coughed up were T.S. Eliot, Vladimir Nabokov, and George Louis Borges. And is it for Nabokov? It's just because he really doesn't like producing a lot of words. He I do massive semantic compression because I don't I'm a words person. I'm a reading, writing,
a gentleman
person.
Of letters.
Yeah, a literal personne des lettres, if you want to make up French. I have no idea how close that was to French, but I don't like reading many words. I'm a novella guy at most. I like Gravity's Rainbow. I've never read that shit. I'm never
ain't happening. Right.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. And I almost don't even like. That's one of the reasons why I like After Sunstone so much, because Dustin also shares my.
It's a collection of poems.
I'm super. Actually on Sunstone, I am super glad that I had already started publishing poems before that came out. Otherwise, you could point at me and say that like, oh, like you're just doing an After Sunstone, bro. I'm like, oh man, I didn't even know that thing existed, and like I got in just under however Justin Cole writes it, like we like almost, it's like we were probably at the same nowhere truck stop in Nebraska writing different poems about the same
simultaneously.
Different poems about the same junkie foaming at the mouth, like, you know, in the parking lot. Yeah, we're like, because when I got a copy of that, when my copy of Sunstone actually showed up, I like tried to sit down and read it, and I started hopping up and down like, yes, fucking yes, finally somebody fucking gets it. It's an excellent book. But yeah, because I'm at 14,000 words. My thesis was barely 22,000 words. Like my graduate thesis was barely 22,000 words because I cannot stand producing large blocks
of text.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, hey, shit. I'm excited to read it when it's ready.
I'm excited to read it whenever it comes time. Whenever we'll put you on the review show, give you 4 thumbs down, and tell everybody to go buy it anyway.
That's right. That's right. That's the Tookies Mag way. Yeah. Let's see. 4 clubs. I need to see something on Jolly on West. That's this show. You watch the rest of Library of Mass Destruction. The Jolly on West stuff really starts in episode like 20. Yeah. So
it's literally Tookie should do a special on the guy. We're going to talk about Joylon West.
I'll tell you what.
I think the title of the title of the last one was the one where it's always Joylon West.
that was 2 episodes ago, I think. Yeah. The one where Jolly on West did it every time.
Yes.
Yeah. I would say that I'm doing a lot of extracurricular reading. I have purchased several of West's books. And I read his son's memoir about killing Jolly on West, which was a real piece of shit, like absolute garbage.
He sent me screen caps from it, and they were always terrible. And I also have to blame you for the fact that the word bureaucrat has entered my lexicon.
Bureaucrat? Yeah. Bureaucratic? Yeah. An excellent boomerism. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, biography is not really a thing, and there for us so much. But there's not a biography that I'm aware of on Jolly on West.
He is like, okay, there, and because I've done a lot of this kind of again. Hi there, historian here. I am a classically trained historian, and he is one of these figures. There are a couple of figures. He is one. There is a book now out about not Regnery, I can't remember the name. But there's a couple of these guys floating around from the late 20th century that like almost certainly should have had very in-depth biographies done on them almost immediately. And there is not one on Joylon West. And that usually, and like Cap and I were actually talking about it, that actually usually indicates that the university, so the way this works is you could probably write a thesis on him. Yeah. But the way all of his papers, most of the papers that you could probably
most of his papers are at UCLA, the ones that are not in government possession.
Yeah, most of his papers.
You'd have to get into the archives. You'd also have to interview his family. Both of his children are dead. His wife is dead. Most of the people who knew him are dead. He had a lot of very notable connections. Like Charlton Heston was a family friend for a very long time.
These people are dead. It's a lot of dead people.
Yeah.
It's a lot of dead people, and it's a lot. I hesitate to say I know who the ideal person would be to write this book, and this probably is a book that needs to be written. I know who the ideal person is to write it, because you would need somebody that's relatively good at navigating archives, relatively good at securing permission from the archives on relatively innocuous grounds to that's where the bottleneck is, because like and they can't stop you from republishing it inside an academic context, but when it comes time to go publish like the papers from Joyline West at UCLA or something like that, if you want to do that in a for-profit context, you have to get permission from them. I have a feeling they're very, very cagey about this.
Here's the thing. And Alex Berry, is Jolyon West even real? The answer is yeah, he's real. Like he was the head of, there is a building at UCLA named after him. Yeah. Like it is the Louis Jolyon West like auditorium.
If you want an in-depth biography of Joyline West, you should go over to see Sandbatch's Twitter and give me Ethereum, since the Bitcoin didn't work. Because I'm the ideal person. It would probably like
This man is stealing bread from my mouth.
Yeah, it would probably need to be me and Daryl. It would be me and Daryl Cooper.
Oh yeah, Daryl Cooper.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, they're definitely going to let Daryl Cooper in there.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I've done research for him before. He pays
much sure, but
peanuts. But
yeah, sure, but UCLA is not going to let Daryl Cooper in there.
Yeah, they're not. They will let me in. They will let me in. Like I'm incredibly good at getting into art. I was in Moscow for a week once, and I just on a lark, because I wanted to see how easy it was. I convinced Russian archivists that I was a German scholar, and they let me in the Nazi room, and to just go and I can't read German at all. I can't even read the German orthography from the century, but they let me waltz right in. It is incredibly difficult to get access to primary sources on Nazi Germany
from the Nazis.
In Germany, it's even harder. In Germany, their archive system's really sort of fascinating. They have a 3-tier permission system to get into their archives. You have to get permission from the EU first to conduct any kind of research there. Then you have to get permission from Germany within the EU, and then you have to get permission from the state level archives in Germany, and then you have to give a specific amount of time that you're going to be in there. And if you're doing Nazi stuff, the archivists stonewall you for the first 2 or 3 weeks that you're in there. And it's because my office mate in grad school was a German historian. He told me he's like, it's fucking miserable to try and get access. He was not really a Nazi guy, but he said getting access to the Nazi stuff is incredibly difficult. And I'm like a year and a half later, I just waltzed right in, and they were like, "You want to see the Nazi shit? Got it right here." You know,
gee whiz.
Yeah, I'm really good at getting access to archives for some reason. And I'm a competent person. I'm not as crazy as I seem, actually.
You do not seem crazy.
Do I not?
Although, contrary to Randall Shirker saying every time Sandbatch starts yakking about IRL stuff, I feel like I'm either talking to some scholar or listening to the local crackhead.
I am a scholar. Actually, it's really what I am. Yeah.
You should have finished that with "I am a crackhead."
I've never.
I am a crackhead.
You know,
that's ridiculous.
I will not.
You're white.
I will not freebase cocaine. You know, that smoky white devil is no longer a part of my life.
Yeah. Let's see a couple more things before we close up. Wood Pit 420. How many more episodes do you think, Cap? I am gonna just estimate we're less than 5. So
getting close to the end here.
Yeah, we're getting close to the end. There's really only the Bourne scenario and then the conclusatory chapter, which is let's see, I think it's called Wearing the Wolf's Head. So that there's really only 2 more sections. We're nearing the end. I know I've been saying we're nearing the end since like the 18th episode, but it's actually happening. It's happening. So probably 2 more for each section will be a wrap. And then we're going to start on None Dare Call It Conspiracy. So
I'm
In any
excited.
case-
I'm excited for None Dare Call It Conspiracy because it's like I imagine the Zoomer heavy audience probably hasn't read it, and it is an absolute classic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have not read None Dare Call It Conspiracy. I know it by reputation. Obviously, all of us will find it familiar via osmosis.
Yeah, you're gonna know almost everything in it, but it's one of those things where like it's like the manner. It's like Timothy McVey wrote it almost.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, we'll leave you. Say goodbye, Sandbatch.
SFV1 subject Sandbatch signing off.
Beep boop. See you next time.
We will not walk in fear one of another. We will not be driven by fear into an age of unreason if we dig deep in our history and our doctrine. And remember that we are not descended from fearful men, not from men who feared to write, to associate, to speak, and to defend the causes that were for the moment unpopular. We must not confuse dissent with disloyalty. Good night.